in this edition of the Mike On Podcast.
TikTok. Bola Tinubu has spent 1 month in office as Nigeria's president. In his own words, he said, "We have corruption, insecurity, and many problems confronting us. But don't pity me. I asked for the job. I campaigned for it. No excuses. If we want a nation that works, then we must take stock. We must be intentional in holding the president and his team accountable." So how has the president fared in his 1 month anniversary? What are the prospects for Nigerians? Any ray of hope in a not too far future? These questions are critical at this point and are begging for answers. To make sense of it all, Seun Okinbaloye is hosting guests from different political sides to sift through their views on the state of the nation.
The 60% of Us series.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Mike On Podcast. I'm Seun Okinbaloye. Happy new month to all our followers and listeners. The Mike On Podcast is your weekly political tonic, keeping you abreast of events in the political space. This podcast keeps your eyes and ears on governance and socio-economic issues. The Mike On Podcast is an added effort to my every weekday show, Politics Today and Sunday Politics on Channels Television, with more people getting the opportunity to air their views and issues affecting them. So today on the show, we continue our assessment of President TINUBU'S presidency as the administration clocks 1 month. Bola Tinubu was inaugurated as Nigeria's 16th president on 29th of May. During his inaugural speech, the president announced what some believe was long overdue, the removal of fuel subsidy. This decision shook virtually all aspects of our economic lives, and the reality still stares many in the face. Days after May 29, Emefiele was suspended as CBN governor. Bauer got suspended as the EFCC boss, and both of them now answering questions at the DSS and the Secret Police Office. Now, Naira floating and unification decision was made. Special advisors were appointed. Service chiefs were replaced. The president also signed some bills into law, some of which will form part of our discussion tonight. Yes, the president is expected will have a long to-do list. Is yet to announce ministerial appointments. It looks so much that the former President Buhari won 24 days to name his ministers in 2015, when Nigerians been made to wait that long this time around. Well, the law has stipulated now, based on the amendment of the Constitution, that the president and the governors have not more than 60 days before they go to the National Assembly to drop the names of the nominees to their cabinet. Well, the administration may be running at a pace different from the immediate past. Are the policies well thought out? How soon will the compensatory palliatives to cushion the biting effect of the subsidy removal come? A month in, and these are the issues. They are coming amid calls for a drastic cut in cost of governance. When in setting agenda for the Tinubu administration, what are the other low-hanging fruit decisions that will benefit Nigerians? What are the other key areas that should get the attention of the president, or the president need to put on his table to focus on tonight? I'm being joined by two gentlemen. Both of them, interestingly, are lawyers, experienced lawyers. And both of them, they're outspoken in their own different ways. Both of them, you might say, they are young at heart, young in face, in several areas. But both of them very, very outspoken in whatever they believe in. I'm being joined by Mr. Ismail Ahmed, who is a former national youth leader of the APC, member of the Board of Trustees of the party, and of course, the special advisor, former special advisor to the president on SIP, the SIP. Thank you so much, Mr. Ahmed, for joining us.
Thank you for coming.
And I'm being joined.
I have a very bad cold.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm being joined by your very good friend, Mr. Daniel Boala, who as the spokesperson of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council in the 2023 presidential election, himself also, and a very senior lawyer and experienced lawyer. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Tonight, the conversation is not about APC or PDP. It's about our nation, Nigeria. And whether we like it or not, for now, Bola Tinubu is Nigeria's president. Although some people don't agree, some people feel the mandate was stolen, some people feel that their mandate was being delayed, they are in court, rightfully, their decision and their rights as citizens of Nigeria. But tonight, what matters is, what is the president doing to better the lives of Nigerians? Part of his promises, the decisions that he has made, how have they impacted on the lives of Nigerians? Well, let me begin first and foremost with you, Mr. Ahmed. The APC made promises. President Tinubu says, I asked for this. But maybe what he did not envisage is how much of the impact of his decision will be on the average Nigerian. I'm very certain that you are very close to those who are now texting you and asking for money. They probably would have doubled the number, isn't it?
Well, first of all, I think it's wrong for you to say that he did not envisage the impact that these decisions would have on ordinary Nigerians. If there's anyone who is constantly in touch with ordinary Nigerians in his thinking, in his attitude, even during campaign, I don't think you can get any person more than Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So he is quite aware. All these decisions are well thought out. These are decisions that he had sat down with his bunch of advisors, both formally and informally, and discussed it. These are policies that everyone who had contested against him during either the primaries or the secondary election had said that they were going to do, in terms of removal of the subsidy, for example, that is overdue. You said that during your introduction yourself. So it is something that he's well aware that is going to have a huge impact, and that is why all he's thinking about right now is how to mitigate some of these adverse consequences on ordinary Nigerians, and how to roll out the palliatives as soon as possible.
So if he's aware, the question is, those decisions are biting very hard. For example, the subsidy, what has been done to ensure, because they were talking about palliatives, but nothing has been done yet.
No. You see, everything has to be well thought out too. First of all, like I told you, the subsidy removal was already on its way because it was not encapsulated beyond June in the 2023 budget. In any case, the president had to go gung-ho and announce it on his day of inauguration. That is a bold step that everyone would envy to take in his own place. The palliatives, of course, this I know that there's roundtable discussions all through the last 2-3 weeks. Since the day of inauguration, there's been round-the-clock conversations with all critical stakeholders to make sure that we roll out the palliatives systematically in a way that it will be effective and have real positive impact to ordinary Nigerians, so that it shouldn't just be one of those palliatives that every government comes in and says we're going to remove subsidy, and then when they remove a partial removal of subsidy, then they roll out some sort of a platform or whatever, and then some people use it to corruptly enrich themselves. This is not one of those cases. This is a case that is going to be well thought out through. And like Abraham Lincoln said, you better waste more time sharpening the axe, that will cut down the tree, than waste more time trying to cut down the tree. So basically, this is the time where we're sharpening the axe to make sure that whatever we're going to get done. And I have been at meetings where I could hear the voice of the president and how worried he is about this. All he's worried about is, let's get these things right. Let's make sure that every Nigerian that is entitled, adequately gets these compensations, and he or she should be able to feel it in his or her purse, especially the workers that would have to go to work every day, the people who are in the informal sector as well, who would feel the pinch, should be able to be systematically targeted to be able to get some of these palliatives. So we are talking about hundreds of millions of people, tens of millions of people. It's not something that we're just going to do haphazardly. It's something that is going. We'll have to take time and do it right, and that's exactly what we're doing. But we understand. The president understands fully well what's going on. He's worried about it, and he's talking to his advisors every day that look, we need the solution to go out, but more importantly, it has to be effective, it has to be fair, and it has to be very positively impactful.
Let me come to you, Mr. Buhala. I mean, is this a kind of hope that you think that Nigerians can ever expect? They woke up in the morning, price of fuel is 3 times what it used to be.
Yeah.
That has impacted on several other aspects of their lives.
Right. You know, if you ask an average man on the street today, he will tell you he's excited that we have a new government, but not Buhari. You know, there's this belief that it can never be worse, you know, but different opinion, you know. For me, we all agree that fuel subsidy has to be removed because the fuel subsidy thing, I think, is subsidizing the rich. The poor people do not really enjoy the benefits. So there is this unanimity of purpose as regards the removal of the fuel subsidy. I think personally, the problem around this hardship that the Nigerian people are expressing stem from either we call it a premature removal or that a removal without a broad-based plan for the cushioning effect. Because I remember when it was legislated by the National Assembly, they gave a timeline within which the government would have rolled out programs that would have provided the cushion. And early, before the election, when the president was faced with the realities of having to remove it, he said, no, it's going to have to be in July because it's legislated and all that. The whole idea around the time was that government will implement certain policies that will help the people in this transition, because once you remove the subsidy, definitely there's going to be increase in the prices of food in the market, transportation. Virtually every fabric of our lives will be impacted by that decision. So people are aware of that, but what people have commonly have come to call the cushioning effect was not made available. And there are ways you could do that, either by way of providing a mass transit, and if you don't believe in the mass transit system, where you can partner with the private sector, then you could look at the value of transportation on the salary of the middle class and then increase it. That's why the labor union are saying that you have to increase the minimum wage to about 200 and something thousand. So if the government had, for example, before the announcement of the removal of the subsidy, increased the salary of the workers to take care of the increase of transportation and food and items in the market, I think that even though people will feel the impact, but it will not be in the magnitude in which people are feeling today. Let me be honest with you, Nigerians are suffering. And you know, there's a funny thing about this policy thing. There are 2 sets of people, right? Or you could call it 3 sets who are crying because it's a policy we all agree. Now, we differ in the implementation process. But whether we discuss the analytics or the theory around it, one fact is clear: the common man on the street is suffering, right? So the opposition are suffering and complaining. The governing party are suffering and smiling. In the 2 scenario, one common denominator is the suffering. It is just that the governing party, because it's a party they came into power with, they believe that there is need for the management of the pain. But the truth of the matter is that people are suffering. I believe in the policy. I believe that the implementation process was flawed, but I believe that they are making the effort to correct that. So there is going to be a few months of, serious sufferings.
So Nigerians should be ready.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you think that this subsidy thing was not well thought out?
The principle.
Good idea, but not well thought out.
Good idea, but implemented is like putting the cart before the horse. You ought to. It's just like if you're going to increase the price of transportation, but you give me extra money in my pocket, you know that even if the prices of transportation have gone up because of that extra money in my pocket, I won't feel the pain. Or you say, Boala, tomorrow morning there will be a school bus that will come and pick you. Just be around so place and enter the school bus. The impact would be different from saying you've increased the prices of items and now transportation has increased, but I don't have money to cushion that, and I do not have a transport system to take care of that. And we're even talking about transport. We have not talked about the issue of food and other aspects of life that this thing will impact on them. And the middle class we are talking about, they constitute less than 5% of the population. So we're even talking about people who have jobs. What about those who don't have jobs in this kind of situation?
So no matter how fantastic the idea is,
Yeah.
the fact remains, more Nigerians are poor now, more Nigerians are suffering.
And they are likely to continue till
In
the
1
next
month
8
of
months.
Tinubu, we have more suffering in Nigeria.
Yeah.
That is the fact.
Likely to continue till the next 6 months.
That's a very unkind and unfair statement.
Let me now give you the fact.
no,
It might be
hold
painful, but
No,
let me
hold
just
on.
Ismail, let me give
Can
you the
I
fact.
just answer something to what
No,
you
no,
said?
I will allow you to
I think
answer,
you're
but
taking
let me give you the
advantage of my
fact.
cold, and because I can't speak very well,
I can
hardly hear myself.
Hold on.
and I think you're taking advantage
Let me
of
give you the
it.
fact.
Seriously, I've been sharing.
All right, go ahead.
You have been
Go
unfair
ahead.
to me.
Because I wanted to ask you a question.
Okay.
And give you a fact so that it can help your.
So lump it up.
Your,
But I think you're taking an unfair advantage of my cold, the fact that I can't hear myself, and then you allow
you've
this.
taken advantage of your height and your size over me several times. Ismail.
What was that?
So you've taken advantage of your height over me several times. So it's payback. So,
Go ahead and ask your question.
Jokes aside. But look, this is what a World Bank has said. It says 4 million more Nigerians have been pushed into poverty in the first 6 months. And I'll just take that for granted.
In the first 6 months?
In the first 6 months of this month, that is by the end of June, 4 million more Nigerians are being pushed into poverty. Now,
And that's TINUBU'S fault?
just a moment, and that's why I said let me put your question to you. Based researchers, and in fact, World Bank has also submitted that over 7 million more Nigerians will enter extreme poverty due to the subsidy removal policy.
Okay,
So when I asked him the question,
So what's your question?
that is it a fact that more Nigerians are poor now in the last 1 month based on because the first decision of this government, aside the oath of office, was subsidy removal.
Right.
And that is what has really impacted on the lives of many people. And in fact, driving here, Ismail, it has cost you more than it will cost you 1 month ago.
Yeah.
So the fact remains that things are more expensive. That's a fact.
So, but
More Nigerians are
why
spending
we-
more.
why
That
are
is a
we-
fact, isn't it?
Why are we regurgitating what everybody knows and agrees?
Because people are suffering.
No, but everybody, we understand that. No one in this government, no one, not the president, not any of his advisors, not we who are around, and not even ordinary citizens, and not even friends of ours of before, like Daniel
Always,
Bwala,
always.
It's under any illusion that more people are not feeling the pinch. And that's what I said in my introduction, that we understand that. Absolutely. Daniel Bwala said something. He said, that the implementation is wrong, that the idea or the principle of it is what everybody agrees with. His party agrees with it. He himself as a person agrees with it, but he does not agree with the implementation. And then he made mention of something, that what we should have done is we should have rolled out the palliatives or bring out the cushion effect before we bring down the scalpel. But the question is, as a result of subsidy, the country is broke. The president wants minimum wage upped even before Labour asked for it. And in about 3 or 4 meetings that I know, he's been talking about when does the minimum wage go up? Where do you get the funding to raise the minimum wage if subsidy keeps going on? In the last few years or probably months, we know how much we have been hemorrhaging in terms of borrowing to be able to meet with our basic needs. Now, if you do not take out subsidy that consumes about 2 to 3 trillion naira every year, then you do not begin to fantasize about raising a minimum wage because you simply do not have the funding to be able to back it up if you do not take out, if you do not take out subsidy. So the issue is unfortunately, the removal of this is a catch-22 for every leader. Every president, and I'm sure of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, wants to be able to take care of every single citizen, the whole 210 of us. For example, he would want a government to be able to do everything for everybody. But he knows that the reality of this world and the reality of our finances and our funding and our situation and our financial architecture and everything will simply not allow that to happen. So the question is, what gives? You know, we have the big elephant in the room that everybody has agreed. Every president, including military leaders that were not elected, you know, couldn't remove it in one fell swoop. They have tried it, you know, and they have faced some sort of backlash and they have backed off. But because of the continuous debate that democracy has brought to the fore since Obasanjo era, that everybody keeps talking about it, Labour goes in and then stakeholders talk about it, and every government tries and attempt to take it off, and then nobody could do it. But there was a PIA that was signed last year. And then there was a budget that was passed in January. This budget simply did not capture subsidy beyond June. The PIA simply take out subsidy as a condition for it to take a full flight. So the president said, look, it's not going back. We need money to be able to invest in education. We need money to be able to invest in social amenities, healthcare, and the basic necessities that will make you and I a more qualitative citizens. And more importantly, like you said, yes, the workers of this country are probably 5, 10%, 20%, you know, but we all know, politically speaking, we're about both politicians, that once that class of workers are angry, somehow it has a very damaging cascaded effect on a very dependent culture in Nigeria, where most of the people at the downtrodden rely on these people who go to work on a daily basis. So whatever affects them affects everybody else. But the question is, if we do not take out the subsidy now, how can we have the funding to increase minimum wage and be able to do other things? Because you can't have both, unfortunately, unless if we want to continue what others have done before, to continue to go out and borrow, to be able to pay this 100,000 or 200,000.
But let me ask you quickly.
Depending when we can take it out.
Yeah, Ismail.
Unless that's what we want.
Is the president aware? Because for those of you who are close to him, is he aware the kind of suffering Nigerians are feeling?
I told you he is. Who told you he isn't?
He is?
Let me tell you a story. Do
you know that people are now trekking on the street now?
Absolutely, he does. He does. He does. And that's why quickly, he's thinking about it every day. Let me tell you what the president once told me about 5, 6 years ago, about him personally. And I'm not digressing. I want you to understand the concept and the idea of who he is. He once gave me a story. He said when he was a kid, you know, he has to fetch water every morning for him to be able to have breakfast and for him to be able to go to school. And now, because he has a small stature, every day he goes to fetch water, he has to go to the front of the line for him to be able to make up breakfast and good time and go to school. So he gets beaten up by people, right? Because of his small stature, they don't allow him to go into the front of the line and stuff like that. But he keeps fighting every day until he puts his bucket in front of the pump and be able to fetch that water so that he gets back home on time to be able to make it work. Now, why he is telling me that story is that he said, I'm not used to getting anything easy. I understand vehemently what the man on the street feels on a daily basis. And that is what I bring to bear every day in the office. He understands that you have to struggle every day. And he struggles. So nobody is under any illusion, either him or anyone in his government, of the adverse effect of the subsidy removal. But the question is, something has got to give. If you want to raise minimum wage, if you want, what do you call it? If you want investment in education, healthcare, and all this basic stuff that will be able to make you and I more qualitative citizens, you know, something has got to give. What has got to give? Everybody agrees is subsidy.
But maybe there was an error. I mean, good idea, but the error in the timing.
There is no error in any timing.
So let me ask you.
Well, we must roll out our palliatives immediately.
But the palliatives are not here.
No, but I'm saying,
and it's 1 month in office.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean is 1 month? 1 month in office is enough for everybody to get palliative?
No, the question is that.
What are you saying?
Why? So the question is, I don't know. It's just a question I'm asking you.
No. That's not the question. You are concluding.
I'm asking you. There are facts that Nigerians are suffering.
Why do you keep repeating?
And you are smiling. You are suffering, but you're smiling.
No, hold on. Why do you
we
keep
are suffering
repeating
and
that?
crying.
Yeah.
They are suffering and smiling.
No. no.
But one common denominator is that we're both suffering.
They are not suffering. They are tongue in cheek. You know, they wish they are the ones that have made that decision. They have not made that decision. They are tongue in cheek, and they are like, okay, you guys.
Let me read something to you. This is one of our listeners now.
You keep reading,
and they are very.
You keep
hold on now.
So go ahead.
So Wale Akintola at Wale Akintola 1. This is what he says on Twitter.
Yes, sir.
As for the common man, it's been hell. Small-scale businesses that are not dealing consumables are gradually losing. Parenting is becoming very hard, and all hope is lost. I remember that your campaign promise was renewed hope.
Oh yeah.
This is one Nigerian.
Oh well, there will be 10 more Nigerians that probably will tell you that they have hope, that their hope have been renewed as well. But let's not kid ourselves. You right? No, hold on. Let me just finish up so that you can pick up, because you have a better voice than I do right now. So you
have an advantage.
You guys cannot come and bulldozing me. Do you understand?
It's a renewed voice.
Jean, you can't keep blackmailing me here, saying that but people are suffering, as if I disagree, as if the president disagrees, as if anybody in this government disagrees. No, because as a president, the moment his citizens are suffering, he's suffering as well. He's suffering in the sense that the thought of it, what he goes through, the time that he would use to deal with other issues would have to be used in dealing with the consequences of the subsidy removal. That's exactly what he's focused on. So please, let's not leave here with any other impression other than the fact that the president is hell-bent in seeing that the palliatives are rolled, but much more importantly than just being rolled, they are rolled effectively, adequately, and fairly. And that is the most important thing. That takes time. The process takes time. The planning takes time. But it will be done. And Nigerians, unlike what you would like us to believe, I'm just coming from Kano. I flew directly from Kano straight to your studio because you called me. That's the kind of power you have over me. I have called, but you summoned me.
You are twice my size. What kind of power do I have over you?
I flew from Kano directly, and I know.
But thank you for honoring the invitation.
I know how many people will see me in Kano and say, you know what, we have hope in this man, because what he takes decisions, they may not be decisions that would immediately impact us positively, but we believe in where he's going. We believe he has the right mindset. We believe he has the right attitude. We believe he's honest in his intentions, and we believe that he's taking us somewhere. Nigerians are willing to follow a leader that they believe he knows where he's going and he's doing it for the right reasons. If for any reason Nigerians believe that Ashwaju is doing this out of malice, or because he's incompetent, or because he doesn't know what he's doing, believe me, the streets will all be up in arms as we speak. But because even Daniel Bwala here believes that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu knows what he's doing, he's not doing this out of malice, he's not doing this out of any other reason but the pure intention and the grinding and harsh reality of the necessity of today that has confronted him in office, and the ability for him to pull this country out of the doldrums, and so that everybody will pull himself out of the bootstraps, and so that we can be able to move from point A to point B. If he believes that is the case, he believes it as well. I believe it. Even you, Shehu, you believe it.
You don't know what I believe.
I know,
Ismail.
because that is why a lot of people are willing to give the president some slack. And for us who are in the party, who are close to the people who make some of these decisions, we know what goes on in these meeting rooms, and we hear them, and I'm comforted by it. So when I go out and I know that my car that used to consume 15,000 naira now consumes 46,000 naira, it's a reality. And my income has not gone up. It's a reality. So I'm not immune from it. But when I go back to that meeting room and I hear what they say, and I hear how worried the president is and well-intentioned he is, I get comforted a bit, because I know he's taking us somewhere that all of us would be free of.
So if I summarize so that Mr. Bwala, Daniel can respond.
Voice, allow him.
So what Ismail is trying to tell us is that President Tinubu understands the problem. that Nigerians are suffering, and he's going to do something. But before then,
He's doing
just be
something.
suffering
He's doing
until we fix it. That is the summary.
something.
That
That
he's
he's
doing
going to
something.
do.
Although they are suffering,
He's
but
doing
they should keep
something.
suffering until.
Who said that?
No, I'm
You cannot paraphrase me. Just ask your question. Ask him any question.
let me allow you to
Paraphrase.
respond to, to
be,
Mr. Ahmed.
To be honest, I believe that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu fell into the trap of IMF. That's what they do to countries. Anytime a new administration comes, they come with a proposal. They've always been hammering about removal of subsidy. In fact, they said they were not going to give us loan during Buhari, further loan. As soon as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu removed the subsidy, they approved $500 million.
No, hold on. Which
Let me
$500
finish-
million
let me finish
now?
now. Let me finish. You were talking for almost 20 minutes.
It is you that doesn't have a voice.
I don't have
That is
voice.
it.
Let me finish.
I don't have voice.
Go ahead.
I read that $500 million was approved by World Bank. It has not been released, but approved, whether in principle.
Is
You
it
know that
$800
was-
million?
Or
all.
even 800. I even thought it's 500.
And that was approved since Buhari's time. It was not Buhari Ashwaju
But
that was
the
approved.
matter came to the public forum now.
But it was an offer based on the
removal of the
subsidy.
subsidy.
Hmm?
Yeah.
They approved.
That's what they do.
In fact, they were the one who approached Nigeria that if you do this, we give you
You
this.
give it this. So you see,
What I'm saying is that it was approved under Buhari's administration.
but you see,
But government is a continuum.
Correct.
That's the point of it.
And-
Let's
and-
just say things the way they are.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, and you know that kind of policy. So it is a decision that was made out of grandstanding than of a critical look into the sufferings of the Nigerian people. So, and I'm telling you that in the next 6 to 8 months, this thing will continue the way it is before the government will be able to take it.
6 to 8 months.
Yes.
That's-
You read
that's
it.
very
I read
pessimistic,
Financial.
Daniel.
I read
How
Financial
about
Times
Daniel?
London. I read Financial Times London. I will send it to your WhatsApp. They said it will take minimum. It can be more. Minimum of 6 to 8 months before the policies can take shape to give that cushioning effect to the Nigerian people. And you can just oppose that with realities on ground. Now, first of all, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has to generate the revenue to be able to do that. He is discussing with Labour on the increment, and he has expressed intention to really increase the wage bill of the middle class. But the point he's saying is that your demands are unrealistic until we don't have the funding. So how long is it going to take before you get the funding? That's point number one. And number two, there must be an administrative assessment of the salary increase and who is entitled to the salary increase. Because we don't have money. That's the reality. Me, I predict, because what I do is I look at the manifesto. I try to judge them based on the manifesto. And I see that they have a policy regarding, they have a policy of, what do you call it, taxation. You know, his principle, when they say he will replicate what he did in Lagos, now what he did in Lagos was he expanded the tax net, right? Thereby generating more revenue through taxation. The problem about that approach at a time when the people are down, you know, below the poverty level, is that in the advanced countries, before you can increase tax or before you can expand tax, you must have a clear-cut definition of what you intend to give to the people as deliverables, the reason for which you're taking the tax. We don't have that defined. I would have been comfortable if Tinubu had waited and appointed his ministers, especially Minister for Economy, Central Bank Governor, some of these people that will, give him a direction to the fulfillment of that policy. But he was in a rush, he did that, and there are no people on ground as of today to advise. In fact, most of the people at the moment who would have been or are in a position to advise him are suspects as I speak to you right now. They are being investigated because there was a massive corruption in the past administration. Now you could see that
Really?
Central Bank governor is in custody.
So they are investigating people who serve under Buhari.
A lot of them.
Over corruption issues.
Corruption.
So this is probably done under a lot of people are not aware.
Yeah, because it's to me, you see, in the last 2 weeks of Buhari's administration, there were certain moves by that administration that could be called suspect. Certain immediate approval. Somebody would just come to the immediate. And a lot of people, especially from the HPC side, felt like Buhari was trying to make the country very tough for Tinubu.
But how can corruption be that wide in a government of President Buhari that hates corruption?
And it is now that we are able to look back, and that is why
So you don't get what you want.
that is why
You are focused.
No.
That is why, with the greatest respect, if you look at it, and when somebody asked me to assess TINUBU'S first 1 month, I said it is premature. I looked at from 1999. Each time we had election in which a new leader emerged, not re-election, Nigerians have always expressed hope across all platforms with the willingness and readiness to participate, hoping that the person will bring change. So the first 1, 2, 3 months, people have given you more than expected for you to be able to do. So there are certain things you do. People will think you are extraordinary. It is actually after you put these policies and they start rolling. For example, Bola Ahmed Tinubu has not appointed his cabinet members. So nobody has approached him at the moment with the problem of a ministry. Every ministry of government in this administration, that is administration that handed over, have terrific problem. Do we go to aviation? Do we go to agriculture? So none of them has a problem.
There might be a bombshell. So cans of worms.
Yes, you assessing when
eventually.
And we are now talking about ministry.
After Jonathan's government, we were told that there were a massive corruption under the Jonathan government. So we might be seeing a lot of this kind of thing.
Arguably, and that's my opinion, of course, one can differ. The last administration, and not with the participation, I have my greatest respect for Buhari, right? I only feel that what Buhari has not done throughout his administration was to supervise. He always believed, delegate and have trust in you. And they took advantage of him. So you have more corruption case in his administration than any other administration. And that's because the gift now became the cause. The gift that he had was a gift of delegation and allow you to use your creativity, which in the Western world would have been serious applause.
So they may have stolen more money under Buhari in 8 years than we are seeing under Jonathan.
Are you kidding? Mosquitoes swallowing money, the monkey swallowing money. What have we not had in that administration? But that's even one. Look at the second one. There are people right now, even in the APC, who are highly optimistic and supportive of Buhari, of President Tinubu, because they have their own expectations to be carried along. By the time he appoints his cabinet and other appointments, and certain people who feel they've worked enough to be given certain privileges, and they don't get to have it, they will add to the population of the disgruntled. And they will go to that population with more cogent and compelling reasons.
That's what Bola is hoping.
No, that's not what I'm hoping.
That's what he's hoping.
For example, my friend Ishmael.
I've never been a disgruntled person. You know me.
You can never be.
You know me.
Because you belong to a different class. He's a friend. We've been in APC for long. We've never had.
Even if I don't get what I want, I'm never disgruntled. He knows.
He's successful.
No, you have a job.
He's rich and wealthy.
He knows it. But let me answer some of the
in case anything goes wrong in politics, you have a chamber to run to.
And he has country citizenship of how many?
Did you denounce anyone? Did you denounce your Nigerian citizenship?
He's me because he knows I want to run. So he wants to upend me now. Upend me. You know. But let me say some of the things that Bola said. Some of them, for someone like Daniel, he knows a lot because he has been in places where he ought to know a lot, right? So it will be inexcusable for him to be repeating what other people are repeating, in pedestrian conversations. Now let's get back to the basics of this issue of people suffering. You keep repeating it as if anybody disagrees.
That's the reality on ground.
Exactly.
But
that is not.
You don't like the fact that we're repeating the pains of some of us in this country. There's some of us who are the poor in this country
in a conversation,
every day.
In a conversation, Daniel Osheun, in a conversation, once a point has been established and everybody in the conversation agrees, and you keep repeating it, what are you trying to do?
No, if it is not well discussed.
What do you mean well discussed? This thing has been well discussed over and over again, from TV.
Maybe because it's painful.
To podcast. To everything.
Look,
no. In this very
conversation, the point is that if you've not eaten today, it will become a point of discussion for you every day.
Okay, so we have all agreed.
Those of us who are hungry have lost a lot of weight in the last 1 month.
You have added weight. Look at you. You think I don't know you before? Me and you, when I'm moving together. Are you like this 2040? Now, let's get back to the basics here. Jean, all I want, all Nigerians really want, is to be able to feel some sort of relief in their lives. That is true. But Nigerians are not naive. They are not, I don't think we give them a lot of credit for their thinking processes. And let me give you an example. A lot of people thought that a lot of Nigerians will not see beyond a certain point in a ticket. For example, I remember Daniel appeared on your show. I think it was on your show, prior to the election, and said someone like, what's his name, Peter Obi, was not going to win. If he wins 3 states, he told him that he has dashed him the election.
Now I'll throw a party for him.
Right? But
and I did.
He said you are going to throw. The man won almost 12 states, right? I think he won almost 12 states.
He almost 12 states were allocated to him by INEC.
Okay, fine. Thank you. If you are agreeing
Really?
with that, that's
Yes,
fine.
INEC allocated results. It was
I
not
know
the
what you mean.
reflection.
No,
All the result of the past
the
election was allocated.
No, let's not
by
get
INEC.
into that.
On the 2023
Shehu,
election.
Yeah,
why are you
it was not-
interested in all this kind of conversation?
No, Shehu
When you know it's not
interviewed Okoye. That thing went global.
Yeah.
I got communications from the US. You ask him a simple question about technical glitch. He was stammering all through. And at some point he said, I'm a lawyer, that's not my area of specialty. But that
So
was
does
his
that
job
mean-
to educate
does
the
that- are
Nigerian
you-
people.
So what you got from that interview was the fact that the results were allocated in that election. Is that what you got?
No, the glitch, the presidential.
We're asking critical questions about the good, the bad, or the ugly of that election,
Which
and what
every
we
election
could
has.
do better. And
every election has.
if there is a
different.
progression,
No,
if you need to make a
American
progress, you need to be sequential in your progress. You can't make a progress in 2015, make progress in 2019, and go down in 2023.
No, but what
2023
I'm
You need
saying
to
is-
sustain
was presidential allocation.
what
not
I'm saying is
presidential
that at the
election.
end of that interview with Mr. Okoye, or whatever his name is, was that the verdict you received that the election was allocated?
No, he's
because
that would
hero.
be- that would
We
be a
are
serious
masses.
allegation.
If
That is
That's why
Mr.
You're
That's
not a
Mr.
master, you're
Boala's.
an opposition spokesperson. So, and you lost
where
the
were
election.
you when I congratulated Tinubu?
You lost the election.
You can't call me
Based-
opposition just like that.
You're an
I have my
opposition
greatest
spokesperson.
respect to Tinubu.
Yes, I know. We're not discussing Tinubu as a person here. We're discussing the election based on PDP,
It was a
APC,
presidential
and the rest.
allocation.
Let's not get into that because you and I know that's not true. That's what I'm saying.
No,
now.
but that's his opinion.
Ah,
You are of the
that's what I
opinion
told
that the election was fair. That's your opinion. Is it?
but do you see me spewing it anytime? Because I know the election is fair because there is
But
no
he
show.
thinks that it is not.
He's in court now. He's in court.
Yeah. But
He
that
as
is
a
his
lawyer,
stand.
he's in court and he's saying
Doesn't
that he was
he
allocated.
have a right
hold
to
on.
speak of
That's
his
not the point
views
I'm trying to
on
make
the
here.
stand of the election?
Hold on. Is that what we're discussing here?
It's part of it. It's
No, no,
Tinubu's 1 month. Anything within the last 1 month is what we could
Tinubu
discuss.
conduct his own election?
No, but he's the president.
No, hold on. Did Tinubu conduct his own election?
But he's the president now.
I'm asking.
I
sorry,
know,
we're
we're
discussing.
discussing-
Are you the only one who is asking the questions here?
No, I'm the only one that is asking the question.
Him now.
It's my. I'm the only
You
one.
allow me to discuss issues.
No, you know
Like some of the issues he
No,
raised.
hold on. I know. I was trying to answer you. This man is supporting you.
I'm not supporting.
You
I'm
know,
just saying
no,
that that is his point. That is his stance.
Okay, fine. Let us stay with his stance. We know the election was fair. He thinks the election was allocated.
You
That's
so you
fine.
didn't read the report of the European Union.
Oh, all of a sudden now European Union matters. One minute you said that there's a trap by IMF. The
No,
next
no, no,
minute
you said you are comfortable it was fair.
you take quotation from Financial Times, the same people, and now you are relying on what do you call it?
So what have your experts told you as to when the suffering will stop and you will implement the cushioning effect? Let's be fair.
No,
to
hold on.
Nigerians.
You are not asking me questions now. He is.
It's a conversation.
No. But
No,
the
wait,
conversation that you see.
Hold on.
You see this man.
You know, Ismail
It's right on your
to
mind.
gaslight me. But you know what? This is a podcast, and you know the beauty of it is that it's a friendly, it's an out of the tradition conversation where Nigerians
But
can
even
express themselves.
Even in friendly conversations, once I see that the umpire is biased, I need to call him out
So
clearly.
if that is what you are saying, that means we have a right to call INEC bias.
What do you? But you have already now.
No,
You
no,
already
no.
have.
But you are trying
what
to
is it that you're
say.
saying?
No, you are trying to say what I
Is there
said was
anything
not
new?
right. You
Is
are
there
trying to say
anything
what I
new?
said was not right.
No, he was asking a question. We are discussing the 1 month of Ashwaju Bola Ahmed.
Yeah.
Right? And then he is trying to bring the issue of the election. I said, okay, did you, as a lawyer, I said, did Ashwaju conduct his own election?
Yes.
The answer
I
is no.
conducted it for him. No, I didn't conduct
No, he didn't conduct it for him. He conducted it for everyone. You know, it conducted an election for the country, not for
and
Ashwaju
allocated to him.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Do you understand? Now you are saying Labour Party got allocated.
So
APC
are
got
Nigerians
allocated,
suffering?
but PDP did not get allocated.
Are Nigerians suffering?
You're going that you got the 11.
Are Nigerians suffering?
No. I'll answer his question, not yours.
You can interact.
Now,
It's a
no interaction.
Suddenly your voice is now clear because you need to defend the indefensible.
What is the indefensible?
When you started, your voice wasn't as clear as it is now.
No, but as time goes on, that's why I took water.
It is a strategic
That's what I
way
took
of
water.
responding. You wanted to know which
No,
direction.
Okay, now you're a medical doctor.
All right, gentlemen.
You understand?
Let's get back to the conversation.
Okay, let's get back to
Well,
let me
out
answer
of
some
all of
questions.
the issue, we're just talking about one subsidy. There are other issues, Ismail,
Okay, like what?
that are begging for answers.
No,
Let me
but
ask you.
Let's reach a landing on this.
All right, land on this one.
Let's reach a landing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I told you, everybody, the president and all of us, believe, and we know, not that we believe, we know for a fact, the president knows for a fact that the Nigerians are feeling the pinch of the subsidy removal. And he's working around the clock to make sure that the, what do you call it, the cushioning effect, the mitigating palliatives that is supposed to come and reduce this pinch is well on its way, but he wants it well thought out, properly implemented, not haphazardly implemented. On the issue of the minimum wage that Daniel spoke about, I've already mentioned the fact that you need the funding to be able to take care of the minimum wage. Much of this funding would come from the savings that would come as a result of the subsidy removal and so on. It will give us a leeway, a latitude to be able to do a lot more than we would be able to on an ordinary basis. The issue of the $800 million, and I'm glad you corrected him, that the $800 million was approved. It was $800 million, one, and two, it was approved even during Buhari's regime. Right now, we're discussing with the World Bank to be able to see how fast we'll be able to get this funding. And most
They still want to
importantly,
borrow.
no, but there's nothing we
These
can
people
do.
there.
Every country in the world borrows.
So there are plans to borrow.
Every country in the world borrows.
So they have been warning from DMO about borrowing.
About borrowing what? It's, if it is
in
once
their
you
manifesto, they kick
if you
against
are borrowing-
borrowing,
if you are
and they say that
borrowing-
when they come, they are going to cure
If you are
this idea
borrowing
of
to-
borrowing, and they are going to bring out policies that will spark off private sector participation in the economy.
and that's exactly what we're doing.
The
Do
first
know
thing
how
you
many-
started was to ask
do
for
you know how
800
many
million.
people? Do you know how many investors now are excited? Because of course
We want them to
clog
come.
in the wheel, or rather the elephant in the room has been taken out, which is subsidy, which a lot of people just simply didn't have the balls to do that. This is exciting. Like I told you, Daniel Buwala would have loved for his party to be able to be the ones that would do that on inauguration.
But it is clear in
Unfortunately,
our
exactly.
manifesto, it is clear we said that there will be an engagement with the stakeholders and private sector.
Who are the stakeholders
especially.
now? Who are the stakeholders?
So in your own case, the
Who are the
stakeholders, let me
stakeholders?
give you the stakeholders.
Who are the
Let me
stakeholders?
give you
are
the
meeting with
stakeholders.
When Atiku Abubakar was
No, you asked for who are the
vice president,
stakeholders.
hold on now. When Atiku Abubakar was vice president, they were always in a complete variance with Labour about the implementation of what do you call it? Of
subsidy.
Of subsidy.
No, they spread it into three parts. They made the first one before their government left. Yes,
So
it
which one was the first one?
Governor Adams Oshomole. I called him in this conversation as a witness. He was chairing and leading the labor union. And I knew sitting down with Governor Adams Oshomole when he was chairman of the party, he attested to me.
That's what.
During that time, they were able to have a reasonable negotiation around
What
that time.
about that says
This
what?
decision that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did on subsidy, he did not have a conversation with anybody.
What do you mean?
He said subsidy is gone in his speech. The market reacted. The fuel stations reacted.
Hold on, the market
Before,
reacted how?
I'm coming.
The market
Now,
reacted how?
he decided before engaging. And this is likely going to be their own policy. I said good policy, but ill-timed. Because if he had engaged them before announcing, there wouldn't have been this kind of effect. That's the truth of the matter. Who are the stakeholders?
No,
one,
wait a minute, what
the
kind of
labor
fraud would
union.
that be?
The labor union. 2, transport workers. 3, oil marketers. 4, students. 5, what do you call it? Small and medium enterprise owners, right? And then 6, of course, opposition. These are stakeholders in the economy. Now, if you engage with them, whether or not you agree with them or not is another thing. Whether you carry on their suggestion is another thing. But the fact that you engage with them in a democratic society is seen as a constructive movement towards a better country.
So,
That
can I answer that, please?
Just remember.
because
I want us to
I've not
land.
landed.
No, just
1 minute. Let me
no,
answer
no,
that.
just remember. Let him
I
land.
don't lose my train of thought.
Yeah.
Dan,
But you don't want me to even land.
Let him land. Let
I have to
him
land.
land. Just
Yeah.
remember.
Let him land. Just
He
keep it
allowed
now and then you
We've
go
been
on.
pitying you because of your voice. Let him land. Then you come. We are pitying you because of your voice.
We.
So because that was not done and the decision was made.
Mm-hmm.
So the effect now, and like he said, I'm glad that he doesn't even want it repeated because he knows the realities of the suffering is something that is beyond explanation. So he doesn't want it discussed. We just agree, let's just keep it. We cannot just keep it. Because keeping it aside will not change the price of food item tomorrow morning. Now, I would be comfortable if my friend can tell me that based on their policy plans, right, this thing in the next 2 months or in the next 3 months will take shape. And there will be palliative, whatever nomenclature they call, to give a sort of relief to the people. We have not even come to the talk of student loans. You have not heard about the student loans that they introduced when the legislation was signed. And they're in the town celebrating student loans. Do we need loans or grants? In America, a society where guaranteed jobs, people have not paid their loans for 15 years. Yesterday, the Supreme Court of the United States gave a judgment against the student loan relief.
Yeah.
No, he calls the student loan forgiveness because the people can't pay. So let's just forgive them. Then the Supreme Court said, no, you can't do that without the approval of the Congress. We are talking of society, the biggest economy in the world. Loan is even an issue to pay. You're coming to the economy where jobs are not guaranteed. So what are the repayment? To me, some policies are announced.
You see the reason why I told you I wanted to answer that? Because I know Daniel will just keep going into from one point to another and he will lose me. And that's exactly what you want him to do.
No, he's going to land.
I don't understand.
He's going to land.
He forced me to land. He forced me to land.
He's on the tarmac now. He's on the tarmac now. So take flight. He's on the tarmac now. Go take flight.
Now the plane to crash.
You want to go back to Borno? Which one is land? When is he landing?
This is the problem when you have two friends in the studio.
See, the problem is I told you.
I have landed.
You said something. I have landed. You said you should land.
But you lost your voice. 30 minutes ago, you don't have a voice. Go ahead. Go ahead. This time.
Grandma, you should have given me tea when I told you I had tea.
Sorry about that.
You are giving me cold water.
Producer, please get us
if
tea.
the palliatives were in place, he would have given you tea.
But we cannot afford it.
Yes.
I see where you're going. But listen to me here. Let's talk seriously.
Yeah.
Daniel was speaking about. Please remind me of your earlier conversation. The one that I said I wanted to interject. Not the student loan thing. The other one you spoke about.
It was whether you were planned or not.
Decision,
that it was ill timed and it was not properly planned out with stakeholders before.
And you still cannot give me a definitive time to say by this time. It will be
now. Maybe Daniel, and I can understand why. And I'm talking as a matter of fact here. I'm seriously speaking. We've had during the campaign, and you are a journalist, I think you've followed up on some of we've engaged almost every critical stakeholder in terms of we've sat down with the labor, we've sat down with all marketers, we've done all that. And we've had a conversation. The president was very clear to them that, look, subsidy would have to go. And we've had open discussions, behind the scenes discussions. So the president has contacted and has engaged a lot of stakeholders even prior to election. After the election, he has had several meetings in between being president-elect and being sworn in on the day. Unless if what you are looking for is him as president discussing, sworn president. but he has discussed so much with a lot of critical stakeholders. And that is why you saw that the oil marketers paid him a courtesy call after the subsidy removal. And they endorsed that decision, that this is the case. And every day I have told you that there is a roundtable discussion on this. So because you don't know something, or you decide not to choose, you chose not to know, or to blindside it, doesn't mean that it didn't happen. There was constructive engagement by the president, either as a candidate, as president-elect, and finally as president, by critical stakeholders that are meant to be taken care of or to be consulted before this decision was taken. That is one.
I disagree.
Number two, no, that's fine. So everybody's entitled to see. I mean, I'm entitled to my facts.
Yeah.
You are entitled to your opinion. But number two, the issue of whether I can tell him a definite date. I cannot come here and lie to you that I know that in the next 2 weeks or in the next 3 weeks, everybody will start feeling the cushioning effect. I can't say that. But I know that there is a serious ongoing conversation. And I would like to repeat myself for the final time.
That's a bit Niger.
Right? I would like to repeat myself for the final time. The president is more interested in rolling out palliatives that, 1, would be effective, 2, would be fair, 3, would be adequate, and 4, it will be impactful positively. And it will take time to do that. And that's what matters to him, not being rushed by naysayers and cynics that will tell him that, you promised that you are going to take off subsidy. You don't have balls because you didn't do it on the first day. And then he will do it on the first day. You didn't do it rightly. There would always be a reason for people to complain. Somebody once told me that if somebody does not believe in the Quran or the Bible, he will have enough reason to tell you why he doesn't believe in it. So where cynics and naysayers, they will always tell you why somebody or something is wrong. I don't expect anything less from it. But this president is focused. He wants to get this job done. He understands that Nigerians are suffering, and he's working to do something about it.
I mean, one thing that I think everyone here in this room has agreed on is the fact that there is suffering, there is pain. And what, again, I don't want us to lose our sight of is the fact, the number of the people. You and I may not even be within the bracket of those who are feeling the direct pinch of it. We might be feeling, but it may not be as much. And so that's why when we keep talking about the media is a reflection of what is happening in the society, we're trying to just bring to the fore what is happening, especially to you big men who are in government and in power. But the question here is, subsidy is just one out of the issue. You mentioned the issue of the student loan. That has not come to effect. But let's talk about another thing that has come to effect, is the parity, the differentiation between the different effects that we had. And now we have a unified effect. But that also has its impact. You know what has happened? Since that announcement was made, I was reading one of the economists that said that decision did not make sense as far as he's concerned. That is his opinion. But again, a lot of people have asking question: how on earth are we going to be having multiple exchange rate in the country? But you know what has happened since? It was around the range before the president made that decision. Dollar to naira was in the official in the CBN rate was about 430, 440, just between 420 and 450. You know what has happened in the last few weeks? It's gone up as much as 750.
And you can't access it at the same time.
And it's difficult to access. Good decision. A lot of people will applaud, just like a subsidy. But again, it has an effect, and it's biting effect. Go ahead.
And this is, that's my opinion with the greatest respect. Like I said, it was a hasty decision. Now, I would have thought that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, on major policy issues like that, would have waited until he constitutes his cabinet and then get the opinion of the people he put into various places on the subject. So, for example, he would have listened to the central bank governor, whoever he chooses, minister of the economy, whoever he chooses, and then, of course, minister of labor and productivity, or labor and employment, whoever he chooses. And they will assess the situation on ground and tell him whether or not this decision is timely at this moment, or we need to give it time. And if yes, we have to implement it right now, what are the things we need to put in place, either before its implementation or concurrent with the implementation? When he made those decisions, they were politically induced decisions that were not born out of thorough assessment of the situation on ground. And that's why, even though the removal of these multiple interests and multiple rates into a unified one, everybody will tell you it's a good idea. But like you rightly pointed, now it has been removed, and then we have a unified one. But yet students can't access the money to pay their school fees, because the whole idea of a unified rate or whatever, unified exchange rate, is so that these dollars are going to be available. But they are not available. They are expensive. Good policy, ill-timed. We are going to find a lot of this until it constitutes the cabinet, sit and have the first meeting with the cabinet, tax them to come back with their report on each of those ministries and the program he wants to implement. Because this transition committee and the transition report that was given to him, if these reports that were given to him were proper, I do think that with the release of this policy, immediately it should begin to work without the problem. But I think that the transition report that was given to him, either it's wrong or he knows it, but he wants to make some political decision to create a very strong departure with Buhari. Because immediately he made this statement, everybody forgot about Buhari and said, this is it, this is the man. And the media even got caught up with it. This is the man, you can see more decision. But now, 1 month after these statements or decisions, normally you have to look at the society. And then there is this thing that people talk about. Anytime you talk about Nigerians are suffering, somebody will say, if they are suffering, they would have been on the street fighting. No, they don't have a choice. We have a police state now. We have a police state. You can't go out and protest. They gun you down. We are running. Listen to me. Let me tell you with the greatest respect. Our free speech is gagged. I am hoping that President Bola Tinubu, who has been known as a Democrat, because to be honest and fair to him, he's one of those people that you can criticize him and he has the heart to look at it. Sometimes he can even reach out to you rather than fighting you. Unfortunately, institutions of the state, I don't know the body language they are looking at. And so the society has been built in a way that the people cannot go to the street and make protests. So it is not the fact that people are not on the street. It is not a conclusive proof that people are accepting of the policies. Like I told you, 2 sets of people crying. Those who are suffering and crying, and those who are suffering and smiling. The common denominator is that both are suffering. And it's in a matter of small time, those who are suffering and smiling will convert that smile into crying.
I've broken bones a few times. In fact, in one arm, I've broken it twice. I mean, when I was in uni, I played football on a slippery pitch. I broke the same, and I had an accident in 2015 and 2019. I broke the same arm. So I know that for an adult, it takes between 4 to 6 weeks before that kind of fracture can heal. But I'm also reasonable enough to know that this will take time. And I need to understand that that pain is momentary. It will soon heal. But a child will not understand that. What it tells you is, Daddy, this hand is paining me. And I want this pain to go away. And that is what I like you to speak to. If there is that understanding that this policy is going to hurt our people, this policy will have some effects that will be painful, and it will pinch very badly. The question is the suffering in the last 3 weeks. And I've heard a lot of people. Right here on this program, last week, on this program, we gave out 200,000 naira. And guess for what? People who called in and said, look, I'm a UCOM member who I don't even know what to eat tomorrow. And there's another one who is a cleaner who says, I don't even know what to turn to. And these are the average Nigerians speaking.
You think this started under Buhari and that was just regime?
And we're talking about the last 1 month of this administration.
I'm asking you a very simple and honest question.
These are decisions. These are the policies. I'm asking you a direct question.
Please, can I
the policy.
My question is a primer.
Okay,
answer.
go ahead.
And I'm
not meant to answer your question.
No, you don't have to.
Yeah.
But do you honestly believe or think or know that these kinds of demands from people, to radio stations or podcasts started in the last 1 month?
I'm saying that there are policies that have prompted. No, we are discussing policies and the plight of Nigerians. That's the title of this. TINUBU'S 1 month in office and the plight of Nigerians.
I think I can read that.
Yes. And so that's what we're discussing.
No, the question you are
So we took on subsidy first. The second one.
You are trying to make it look as if that last week from this station, you gave 200,000. As if that has never happened before, unless the last 1 month. So I'm asking you, is that what you truly believe?
Is it not a fact that more people?
No. Is that what you truly believe, that this thing has never happened?
Are you saying that people are not suffering?
It is the excessive. I think the extent to which it has gone.
No, please allow him.
It has grown.
Allow him to say.
No, you're not. I'm asking you the direct question.
I said this interview.
No, that's what I'm saying.
The question
would give. It's a primer to my own answer.
Would you just answer the question?
Story. Yeah. I have my story in that regard.
Yeah. I've allowed you guys to be talking.
No, Ismail.
I have my story.
I've asked you a direct question.
Should I keep quiet again?
No, go ahead and answer the question. The question is that this is yet another policy that is having a direct impact on the average citizen.
Absolutely.
But what was the thought in the initial stage? It might be a populist decision that a lot of people saw or heard and they applauded it. But again, the impact
removal of subsidy.
Is it
removal? Hold on.
We finished with removal of subsidy.
So
we have not entered into the collapse of the multiple exchange rates and its impact.
Okay, the multiple exchange rate. No sensible, no reasonable country in the world would be allocating dollars to citizens. No one. Boala that is speaking here, Daniel, he lives in the UK. He travels a lot. He knows that when he goes into the UK today with his dollars that he has gotten in Nigeria subsidized, that he wants to go and change in the UK to pound sterlings, he knows he has to go to Edgware Road or one of those Arab people that source their funds not from the Bank of England, not from the Central Bank of England. Nobody just sits down, no government sits down and allocate dollars to individuals so that they can go for vacation outside the country. Nobody does.
So I have an answer to that.
Can I finish?
Okay, sorry.
Or should I just keep quiet?
No, go ahead.
No reasonable country does that. That's one. Number two, we can't sit down and be subsidizing, dollars for people. All of us have enjoyed it because we're all travelers. We love the fact that most of the slippers we wear, we go outside this country, we buy them. But for every dollar you spend, the government used to subsidize it. In fact, the most insane situation that I used to know of was when we had BDCs where somebody would deposit 35 million naira in CBN, and then the CBN will hold it as a security deposit for 6 months, return it to you, you get a license, you get a provincial license, then you start bidding for dollars, $20,000 or $10,000 as the case may be, whatever the CBN decide at that point, for you to collect it every week, and you go to the black market and you sell it and you make 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 naira. That is just CBN dashing people money for no reason whatsoever, because even the security deposit comes back to you. Now, Emefiele, when he was governor of CBN, I think after he knows that that thing has been hemorrhaged and we are running foul, we are not producing enough oil to be exporting. We are doing the land swap from what do you call it, from NNPC. We are not getting enough foreign exchange, and investors, because of this arbitrage and because of this multiple exchange, we are not bringing in their dollars. And foreigners, Nigerians in diaspora, instead of sending their money to Western Union or banks to their relatives, they stopped doing that. So their remittances dropped significantly. Now they would rather, because the exchange rate, the black market, was much more lucrative for them. So there were a lot of things, and where then our foreign reserves was dwindling. The CBN pulled out and stopped BDC. Now, everybody, every economist you have spoken to will tell you that. And I've been to, when we had our business roundtable meeting between Ashwaju and the businessmen in Lagos, I think 4 or 5 of them that stood up to talk, saying that, what are you going to do about this multiple window? is simply senseless. Which country sits down and says that for this person, because he's traveling abroad, I'm giving him $4,000? You know, at 410 naira is a lie. As a peg, because it is subsidized. That is not the price of dollar. He knows it. CBN does not print dollars. So he cannot sit down and decide what the price of dollar is. But that's what has been happening. Now the president came and said, look, painful also as it is, we need to get rid of this, because what is important to us is it the few people who are traveling, the 1% of the 1% who go for vacations or buy Mercedes-Benz or buy Gucci slippers. Are they the ones who want to subsidize with that dollar? Or do we want investors to bring in their companies and their monies into this country so that we will get employment and we will get this foreign exchange? Which one is more important? The government would have to make the hard decision of saying that what is more important is for the government to create an enabling environment for investors to come in and put in their money so that they create employment for people. That is what is important. And one of the criteria of doing that, by almost all investors, consensus among investors, is that this multiple window has to stop, and is stopped. If no matter how unpatriotic you are, you must applaud the decision of the president to insist that there will be. Now, what you are looking for, what you are asking for, you are saying that instead of the multiple single window to bring down the price of the black market to the CBN rate, it took the CBN rate to the black market. That is your complaint.
That is a fact. No.
I'm
not complaining to you. I'm putting out the fact.
So that is the fact.
Is it not supposed to get better?
No.
The policy.
Every policy that germinates.
You know the reason why we are analyzing this. We cannot. Just a moment. Hold on, Sampia, please. Except the Supreme Court. Except the Supreme Court says Bola Tinubu is no longer the president.
And it will never.
Bola Tinubu.
So you know the judgment.
Now your prayer will not happen.
I'm not praying. I'm look at Ismail. I'm saying, except if the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the land, says otherwise, President Bola Tinubu is Nigeria's president. I'm a citizen of Nigeria, and I'm practicing media. That's the point. No. I said I'm not saying. I said except if the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the land, says otherwise, President Tinubu is the president, and if he makes a decision, we will look at it, because Nigeria belongs to all of us.
Exactly.
And so whether good or bad, but when people say your policies were good, you should have your shoulder high.
Exactly.
But when they now look at, because every policy has its downside and has its upside.
Absolutely.
So when we analyze it, it's for you to take it. For you to take it.
I agree.
Take it and look at it. But let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. For an average listener or viewer right now, Ismail, if you have only, assuming you are on a trip, you traveled, emergency trip, and you have just only one cloth with you, but when you were on your way to the hotel, it got stained, and you have an early morning interview at 8 a.m. Would you put that clothes inside water and wash it at midnight when you know it will not get dry before morning? Would you make that decision when you have an important outing at 8 a.m.? Would you do that?
Or what's the alternative? You didn't say, would I do this, or what's the alternative?
Now, the painful part is also the alternative is for you to wear the stained clothes to your interview and make the interview. Now, the implication. Go with it. The implication is that if you rather not go to the interview naked or wear it stained. The question I'm asking is, as fantastic as some of these ideas are, and in fact, you know what the former president said? He came out to say, former President Buhari, he said the reason why he did not deal with the multiple exchange rate and remove subsidy was so that President Tinubu could win. Because if he had done that, he would have hurt his chances. There was a statement, and it was from the president, the former president. So that's the question I'm asking. Tough decisions. But the question is, were we prepared? Was the system prepared for it? Nigeria is at a tipping point. And that's why we are having
this. Like saying that.
So let me respond because there's a valid point he raised
saying that.
about this.
We are at the tipping point. Economically.
Let me address.
No, okay.
You agree?
I
Security-wise, we are at a tipping point. Nigeria is at the brink right now.
You keep creating. Keep creating.
But that is the fact.
Scenario.
But that's the fact.
Don't
you think that our economy was as a dire situation?
That they are receiving, that they love this country.
You think you love Nigeria more than some of us? No.
Let me react to that. You see, even the idea of the subsidizing of the dollar, the very idea of that subsidy is not a problem in the first place, because the concept was to make sure that students who study abroad are able to access this dollar at a subsidized rate, so that they will pay for their school fees, the cost of living, and take care of themselves, number one. Number two, those who go abroad for medicals. Nigerians who, probably because of lack of proper facilities or their choice of traveling abroad. And then the third one, those who go for traveling allowance, whatever they call it. The fourth one for manufacturers. It was a good policy in the first place. What made this idea of multiple exchange rate as a problem was the corruption of the system. And to the credit of Tinubu, he has the man in custody. He's investigating him, right? So it is not the policy of multiple exchange rate that was the problem. But now he views that as fundamentally a problem to his objective for moving Nigeria forward. Kudos. And now removed it. But the question here is, having removed it, what is the concomitant effect on the Nigerian masses? Or this individual. So, for example, if you are going to study masters this 2023, you are going to spend over 65 million naira. Without the removal of the multiple exchange rate, you are going to spend about 32 or 33.
And so there are no masters in this country.
Now I'm coming. Where?
No, I'm asking you now. People don't do masters here in
Nigeria. So you are now saying?
No, I'm asking you.
No. But I'm talking about the reason why dollar. Do they give them dollar to pay for school fees in Nigeria?
So that's what I'm saying.
So I'm addressing the reason for which you travel abroad.
If you choose to go for masters in the UK or in the US, right? And somebody chooses to go to masters in ABU Zaria or University of Abuja, right? And you are complaining that the government would have to subsidize your own dollar because you want to go to UK. How many percentage of those people are there? So what decision the government will have to make decision for what? For Daniel Bwala?
So now let me respond to that. It's very easy. Who are the people driving?
Every decision that comes to the president's desk, and Daniel knows it, every decision that comes to the president's desk is a difficult one. Because if it is not a difficult one, somebody down the ladder would have taken that decision.
Difficult. But the masses want to see
the issue is
the impact.
Once it gets to the president, he has to weigh it. And in weighing it, what he has to see is the preponderance of the effect.
Well, he didn't seem to have weighed anything. As soon as he was sworn in, he released those decisions. So if he actually weighed it, there ought to have been a meeting with the cabinet members.
Because you think that the president, since when he was elected president and declared the winner, you just thought that he went to sleep, he has not been engaging with people.
That is now more indicting on him. So if he came prepared on those, now haven't made the decision in that regard, why is it that the situation is worse for the Nigerian people?
What do you mean? Why is the situation worse? Why are you appropriating?
What have we been? No, what? What is the cost of price of items in the market?
No, that's not the issue. The
transportation in the market. We were analyzing school in relation to the multiple exchange rate.
What have I been saying since? Let me give you a simple example. Maybe if I give you this example, you probably would understand. Daniel Bwala, right, needs people to come and invest in his law firm. For example,
currently President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is in search of technocrats. That's what delayed his appointment into various positions to effect change. Do you know what he's looking at? Those who studied abroad. And he is saying that that's the business of somebody who is going to this area with somebody who is traveling abroad.
No, but you are
not and reprobating.
No.
Why is he looking for those who had those Yale, Harvard, and Cornell training?
Tell us, because now it costs 65 million naira. The government will have to make it 32 million.
No.
Don't come and tell us.
I am saying now that you made the decision. No, what I'm saying that now that you made the decision.
Go and pay.
Yes, but now that you made the decision.
You understand? Because our concern as a government is on the people who are studying here in Nigeria.
If you concern for them, you would have probably.
Do you understand? That's our concern.
That's
why we have a student loan.
Okay.
That's why we're having this.
How
That's why we're having.
They asked for the increase
Right.
of salary for the teachers.
Do you understand?
Have you given them?
So
What
that's
about the
we're
facilities
concerned
in the
about.
university?
What we are concerned about is how many times.
It's
we
a
just
lip
got
service
to-
concern.
Well, see that, no, that's the point. So my point
Students
is not
can't
you.
pay school fees.
You decided to read law after you have had your first degree. You decided to read law while you are working. You went to university in this Nigeria. You could have decided that, okay, you know what, I'm going to take a study leave and go to UK and spend 100 million naira, for example, if that's the exchange rate, to be able to get the education that I will still come back here. You still to go for bar part 1 and bar part 2. I will still call you a lawyer the same way I called you a lawyer after you have gone to Bayes University.
Study in Harvard. We're here
Do you
talking
understand?
about talking
So
different
the point is not, that's not the point.
Politicians
We don't
are
stop you from
complaining
going
at the
to Harvard.
moment that he's moving away
We
from
don't
the
stop you
traditional
from going to
politicians
Harvard.
looking for experts that will deliver. We're
That is
talking
why-
about quality.
That is why government introduces scholarship, student loan, introduces so many things for people who are bright to be able to do that. That's why there's PTDF. There is TED Fund for people who are bright, for government to be able to subsidize their education to go and have masters or degrees in studies, in field of studies that are not being offered in Nigerian universities that you need it for the 21st century. Fine. But if you want to go and spend 35 million naira or 65 million naira to go and get a business
What about
degree,
medical care?
a business degree
Medical
in
care.
one, no, let's you
You
put
need
1.1
you need dollar
one
to
point.
go for medical treatment. And remember, the president goes
Okay,
there
so
for
let me
treatment as
ask
well.
you this: what is the percentage of people that go out for medical care compared to the people that stay at home?
We start with the president. He goes abroad
No,
for
we're not
medical
talking about
care.
the president. So
Well, percentage
Which
starts with
president?
leadership.
which president? Ashwaju?
Yes.
When did he go for medical care since he became president?
The last trip he made
Which one?
to the wherever
You
he
see,
went.
you see, Daniel Bwala sits down and make all these wild accusations. I don't want to be part of it.
If you're ready for a conversation on the real stuff facing the, let me tell you something. You see,
The president went to France. That was his first trip. You know it. And he went for a summit.
So
Which one
he's
is that he went
undertaking
for
on behalf
hospital?
of the president in this your podcast.
Which one is
that the president will never need to travel abroad for medicals.
That's
Is that
him
what
saying
you're
it.
You have to
That's
hold
him
it.
saying it. Why
So
are you
then,
asking
then
what
that
he's
means you
saying?
don't crucify
I'm
those who
just
need
asking you, we're
subsidized
talking about
dollars
the last
to
1 month.
travel abroad for
Since the
medicals.
president became president, did he go to the hospital? You said yes. How do you know that? Do you have any evidence to that? Why would you say things like that? Why would you
distract
come
us.
to podcast
Don't distract
and
us
say something
from
like
the
that?
main conversation
You and I
take
know
a
that
turning
he
point
went to
out of the issue.
to France
To take
for
a
a
turning point
summit.
out of the issue. We are talking about
No,
subsidy
I was the one that was talking
for
about
those who
education.
needed the
You
dollars.
went to healthcare.
You cut
and
me
I talked
off
about
from
healthcare. I
education.
said, what is the percentage of people who go outside for healthcare compared to the ones who stay
So, okay,
at home?
you work with
said the
percentage.
president.
Okay, you
I
work
said,
with
since he
percentage.
was sworn in as president,
He has
when
passed
did he
something
go to the hospital?
start ejaculating on.
You said that he went into his
Voice
last
clear.
trip. Why would you say
sound,
that?
Because this needs to be a
No, but
talking
why
point.
would you say that?
Gentlemen, I think we should. One thing that is going to be very important.
And you can't
Just a
allow
moment.
Daniel or anybody else to be making this kind of wild accusation. You have to fact check
But
him.
you're
Check his
here.
points.
But you're here to,
No, I'm not here to
respond.
respond him.
No, you're here to respond
No,
to him.
fact check him now.
At least with this
You have
one
to
now.
tell him. You
With
have
this
to ask
with this
him.
one now.
What is his evidence?
With
That the
this
president was in
voice
France.
clear.
That the last
Okay, allow me to
the
respond.
first trip
Oh, yeah,
the president
go ahead.
went,
To
he
respond.
went to hospital.
Allow me
What
to
is his
respond.
evidence?
Will
You
you
have an-
permit me? Will you
Go
permit
ahead,
me to
go ahead.
respond?
Go ahead, yes.
Excellent. I said that we talk about education, those who need subsidy to be able to cover for the school fees and the rest. He made the case that those who choose to go because they feel they can go abroad, they are on their own because there are those who go to ABU's area. I countered that by telling him the president is looking for those who went to Cornell and Harvard at the moment to constitute the cabinet. He's looking for those who
Wrong
have
premise.
that. I'm coming. Let
Wrong
you see.
premise.
You will not allow
First,
somebody.
no. Because I cannot just allow you to be making statements like that.
Okay, finish.
Who told him that's what the president is looking for?
Allow me to
Is
finish.
it not
When I
true?
finish,
Who told him that's what
when
the
I
president?
finish, let
So
me
at the
come.
end of the day, because look, if the president's list come out,
He said talk, and he will
Right?
not allow somebody to.
If
talk.
the president-
if the
if the
president
president
announces,
comes
where
out-
did you study? If the president appoints you,
University of
as he
Abuja.
surely will. Where did
University
you
of
go and
Abuja.
study? All of your training.
What did you go to do in UK?
Which UK?
He was in New York and
University
denied
of
it.
Abuja.
He was in New York, denied it in less than a month ago. Let him deny.
So what does that have to do with it? Did I go to school in
He
New York?
doesn't fall in the bracket of those who are suffering. But let me finish. You see, I maintain the point. Good policies eat time.
Yeah.
Because the only way you can prove me wrong is that the policies are working. Now, will the policies work at the end of the day? Maybe. but only for those who will survive by then. Now, I am more concerned about somebody convincing me that, voila, you're going through stress because of these new policies that will definitely impact on your life. But the way we design the policy, in the next 6 months, you should be able to get balance.
Mm-hmm.
We're not saying we'll solve all of your problems. You should be able to get balance. Knowing that my suffering by 6 months, I should begin to see some change, will make me adjust from my point of view. I am telling you today, and I think that Mr. Ishmael is about one of the brightest you can ever get in TINUBU'S government that will defend this issue. And wait until they appoint their spokespersons and the people go to the media, you will see real-time confrontation. Because to be able to advance argument, and like I said, he's one of the fewest that will make intelligent argument in that regard. They are the type of policies that were not well thought out. Now, if you tell me, and even President Tinubu cannot tell you in the next 6 months, this thing will be, because he has to listen to experts in that field. He has not appointed those experts yet. So we are saying that if you have appointed the experts, get assessment. Advisors are not the ones that are going to be running his government.
No. But they advise him now. And let me just say
they advise him. So who will implement?
No, they advise him now. Now,
who will implement?
You mentioned something earlier. I'm just trying to bring your point to this. That because there are no ministers, the president may not have information on ministries. Ministries are institutions. They are not run necessarily by ministers. You have PAMSECs who are sitting in ministries today that can tell you much more about that ministry than any minister that
will take the decision in the ministry.
No. What I'm saying is that right now as we speak, the PAMSECs are the head of those ministries. And the ministries will have to function.
That's what Buhari said in 7 months in 2015 when he said
he
was taking his time.
He prolonged
that.
But no president, no governor today in Nigeria has that latitude. There's an amendment to the constitution that gives them only 2 months. President Tinubu has had 1 month, so he has 30 extra days to be able to pass on to the National Assembly.
Actually, by Monday or Tuesday, he's sending the letter to the National Assembly.
That's going to be interesting.
Surprise to you. So if I don't balance you for medicals, I will balance you for this one. and I'm also pleased to let you know. I'm pleased also to let you know that Barrister Ishmael is going to be playing a critical role in the government. That's excitement, but it's all right.
Sorry about that.
So
I don't know what Daniel Bola is saying.
I'm
but
telling
what
you.
I do know for a fact is that
I predicted
that this administration.
You did actually.
Thank you.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, I can tell you for free, is going to be made up of people who are round pegs in round holes, square pegs in square holes. And let me tell you something else he's going to do. He's not going to take any prisoner. He's going to have mandate conversations with people he's going to appoint to critical positions. He's going to tell them what his expectations are and the timeline to deliver those expectations. Failure of which there's no friend or acquaintance or family.
So he's a kind of hire and fire president.
Oh yeah, he's going to do that without let.
You know what?
Once you're not delivering on your
you know what
promises,
Minister Fashola said on my program on Politics Today. He said, I had to ask him. He's probably one of those few that I worked the most with Bola Tinubu, Chief of Staff, and he's been in government since being Chief of Staff to Bola Tinubu. And he said he's had to work with two different people, Bola Tinubu and Buhari. He said in Buhari, he's a man who delegates, but allows you to exercise the delegation of your powers. But in a Tinubu, he says he will delegate, he will give you powers, he will assist you, he will help you, he will remind you, he will wake you to ask you about the power that he has delegated into your hands.
I agree with that.
So that is the difference between both men.
The difference is that
there are advantages and there are disadvantages to any of those those principles.
There is a development between when Fashola worked with Tinubu and now. He worked with Tinubu at the Lagos state level. When it comes to national politics, it's very complex.
Totally different.
Yeah. Like, for example, politically, if you look at the Northwest, they seem aggrieved because they feel they are not playing a pivotal role in his government. And I heard that from very strong people in APC, right? He will fix it. I believe in him because he believes in reward. He doesn't cheat politically. So dealing with them while dealing with this or dealing with that, there are complex things you have to look at. But the most important thing is, behind every strong leader, when you hear this leader is strong, he gives responsibility, he follows it and he sees it. That's because he's blessed enough to have people around him who help him to do that. Behind every strong leader are a cabal. You know, in the next 6 months to 1.5 years, we will assess whether the cabals in Buhari were more fair than the cabals in Tinubu. Why did I
Are
say
there
that?
cabals in the Tinubu?
Very strong one. Very strong one. If you look at the National Assembly leadership election, one of the reasons why lawmakers from APC felt so aggrieved was that most of them say, and I say that because I talk with a lot of them, most of them say that they felt that this decision imposing those leaders were not strictly made by Tinubu, but by somebody around Tinubu. And that's the reason why they felt they have the audacity to even rebel against it. Now, this is an example. This is before government is constituted. So you will have more people put in strategic positions that he will listen to them. And because he will listen to them, sometimes if you're a minister occupying a position, but what brought you to the level where you are is not by the blessings of a certain cabal under him, you have to be on your toes. Because there are certain things that will be happening to you from his own end that will be influenced by him. Tinubu can't be everywhere. That's the truth of the matter. And you can never equate his administration in Lagos and in Nigeria. That is why that decision for his removal of fuel subsidy and multiple, he did some of these things in Lagos. They didn't have so much of impact because predominantly a set of people, even though it's cosmopolitan, but it is a controlled environment as compared to the Nigerian nation. So I want to say, in effect, that the postulation of Fashola will not be entirely applicable in the present day realities. Because in Lagos, Bola Ahmed Tinubu appointed people that were largely people he brought up from the beginning. He could sit down and write a book on them. Now he is occupying the seat as the president where he will work with some people he didn't even know who born them, how they came into existence. But that's the politics.
By the force of law.
By the force of law. So, and how he managed them. He will be looking at, for example, if he appoints somebody from the Northwest, if you look at the demographic of his government now, the Northwest don't have any role. They have not occupied. The highest the Northwest has occupied in this government is Speaker. It has never happened. And we all know that those who rule Nigeria is Southwest and Northwest.
Ismail is there.
What am I doing?
He's from the Northwest.
Yes.
What am I?
He's closer to power than you think.
No,
So, but again,
to set me up for something. I don't understand
but
I don't understand it.
it doesn't take away the fact that your name is on the list that will be taken to National Assembly next week.
No, please. It's
Calm
not.
down.
It's not.
Why are you afraid?
I am afraid.
Is your fight before the DSS?
I'm afraid. No, go for it. No.
Pick your pick.
No.
Pick your pick.
Daniel is offering you, giving you open ticket.
Daniel has not the opportunity on February 25th. Offer me anything.
All right. So again, we're looking at President Tinubu. Whether you like it or not, this is Nigeria's president, and
we like it.
We will. I mean, that's your own political leaning. Excuse me, but the question here is that, as a patriotic Nigerian, you will want him to succeed.
Yeah.
Either you like him or you don't like him. Because if he succeeds, if Nigeria succeeds, it's better for all of us.
Correct.
And if you look at it, I mean, for those, what I've known and what I've heard from those who are very close to Bola Tinubu, is that even when he was in Lagos, he had employed the services of consulting companies.
Correct.
To ask them, I need an attorney general.
Yeah.
Because what I understood was that he didn't even know Professor Oshibajo as much that his file was given to him, and he came top on the list of those who could be attorney general. And the same for a lot of people who had met him for the first time, and he saw that they were good, and he put them. Some of them, they are Igbos. Some of them are not. They are not known to him before. But the fact remains is that what a lot of people say, you cannot take away from Bola Tinubu, is the fact that he has a knack, eyes for quality of personality. Now, we will want him to succeed. We want him to prosper. But the question is, the France planning, it was in France for about 2 or 3 weeks, and we understand that it was meeting with investors and all of that. I mean, there are all of these policy decisions that are being made. Can you tell Nigerians, Ismail, the kind of hopes? Maybe I should, to tell you how reasonable Nigerians are. We have gone through a lot in time past, and this is O_Akimbinu on Twitter. We said we have gone through a lot in the time past. We will endure if there will be solution afterwards.
That is exactly what I told you in the beginning. Maybe because of my voice, you don't hear me well. I've said it. I said when I came back from Kano today, and I told you that people in Kano, you know, in the rural villages, are saying whatever they see me, they said we're praying for this president. We are feeling the pinch now, but somehow we have hope that he is a direction. He has a direction of where he's taking us, and we're willing to be patient to get there because of his intent, his genuineness of his intent, and his ability to do this. And they say what you see depends on where you sit, right? And if you want to know where someone is going, you ask him where he has been before. Lagos, Dan said, is cosmopolitan, true. A bit more control, not as large as Nigeria, certainly true. It may not have the complexities and the complications the Nigerian state has. An older person once told me that the job of the Nigerian president is managing interest, simplicity, nothing else. Yeah. He said the ability of a Nigerian president to manage different interests, be it of region or religion, be it of gender or groups, be it of ethnicity or language or creed or customs or whatever, different generation, whatever. Those are the interests, competing interests, you know, for attention and resources and finite resources that a Nigerian president will be remembered more for his ability to manage this interest much more than any project that he would do of bridges, roads, railways or whatever, you know, because Nigerians are emotional by nature. They want to be able to love someone, you know, much more than anything else. And love comes from how you make me feel. How you make me feel is how you treat me. How you treat me is whether you are inclusive in your administration or not. You know, those things are very primary to a lot of Nigerians. So I will tell you this about President. There are certain things that I know, Sheon, that I may not be able to say now, or I may not be able to say here. But let me tell you this. You hit it right on the nail when you said, this is a president that cares a lot about meritocracy. This is a president who has his eyes on history from day one. He wants Nigeria to remember him for something, for his ability to be able to do something right. That is his vision. That is what he wants.
Does he have a color of how he wants the economy to look like? No, I mean, if for example, Ismail, you've lived some part of your life outside of this country, true. And if I mention 5 countries of the world to you, Daniel, you probably would have also. If I mention 5 countries of the world to you, you will tell me what they give to the rest of the world, what they produce, what they bequeath to the rest of the world, what you can go to those countries to go and get out. But if you ask me, what can you get in Nigeria? Even what Nigerians have in raw form, we cannot refine. You know, what kind of product does President Tinubu want Nigerians' name to be attached to?
Okay.
Does he have?
So no, let me tell you, I can't sit down here because to tell you products in specific details, for example, to say either we want to export yam or cassava or that we want to do agricultural products, which is our mainstay. I think Nigeria should be able to do that at some point. But let me tell you some of the things he had said, even way before he started running for president. I remember I emceed his colloquium. You know, I used to MC his colloquium most of the time. I emceed one of his colloquiums, I think it was 2018 or thereabout in Lagos. And that was the first time I heard him say this. And apparently he said it as well in 2011, you know, but he repeated it in 2018 and he said, there's no reason. He said we have to have competitive advantage as a country with 200 million people. You know, we buy cars. Okay, maybe, you know, son may be able not to do cars that you and I, he was talking to Jim Ovie at that time, would like to drive. Jim, you know, we would still like to drive our Mercedes Benz. We would still like to drive our Lexus Jeeps or whatever. But I think the basic things that we should be able to do as Nigerians is that we should be able to make those things that we use on a constant basis. So, for example, a businessman, you know, and Daniel knows this. They'll teach you this in business school. They will say, what do you use every day? Then do a business in it. What do Nigerians use every day? They change tires in their cars, whether old or new. The moment a Nigerian, because 95% of Nigerians buy Tokumbo cars. So the first thing they do once they buy cars is they change tires, right? Because they believe that those tires have been, he said,
worn out.
Exactly. So he said we should be able to do that. It's as simple as that, so that we will satisfy our own market. And then he said something that was very poignant. He said we cannot continue to run this cash economy. We need to be able to create a credit consumer base where people would be able to take things on credit, because this life of saying that everything has to be paid in cash 100% is unsustainable, is unrealistic, it makes you poorer. Because by nature, by culture, for example, as a House of Fulani man, as a Kano man in particular, I know that the most important thing to a Kano man, the moment he starts growing up, is to own a house first. It may not be the same for somebody from the East, because I met one of my mentors who is an Igbo man who once told me that he's not going to use 500 million naira to buy a house in Abuja. He might as well rent that house for 15 million naira and pay for 10 years, which makes it 150 million, and invest the 350 million. He said any house that you live in 10 years, you would like to change it anyways. And then he will change it. But the house man will tell you, no, I want to build that house, whether it costs whatever. If that's the last money I'm going to, let the house be my own. So that when I die tomorrow, my family will not be taken out of the house. It's my house. Culture. Right? But he said there is a consumer, we must create a credit scheme where a student who just graduated would be able to now rent a house, pay on a monthly basis, right? And then borrow money because he has a subsisting job that will be able to take care of that. And that knows that in the US, for example, car manufacturers or car dealers would rather finance your car than have you buy it outrightly. That's because if you buy now a car outrightly, brand new car, they will not allow you to take it out of the United States until after 6 months. You know, because they don't want that kind of business. They would rather have you pay the 20% down payment, then pay $2,000 every month till you pay off the car. And once a newer car comes in, you can just trade in that back one and take a new one, and then you can move on. So everybody looks affluent. The credit system is working. You have a credit score. You have that. So his idea of economy for Nigeria is prosperity. Is an economy that works for everybody.
You know what they call the essentials of life,
right?
Shelter, clothing,
absolutely,
and food.
So we're talking about
manufacturing
now. So his economy, his idea of an economy is an economy that works for everyone. But he understands that there will be haves and there will be have-nots. The job of a government is to create that
to balance.
You know, I also read in their manifesto they have a plan to turn Nigeria into a mini Silicon Valley. That interests me because we also have it in our manifesto where, because if you look at the teeming population of our young people, they are quite entrepreneurial. It's just that they do not have the enabling environment in Nigeria, you know, to be able to flourish. And he has a bigger plan. And I'm interested in seeing how that works, because if you look at Flutterwave, you look at Paystack, you look at someone, these are guys that studied under a most horrific, environment. And then you can imagine if the environment is conducive for them. Come to the north and see the creativity of the guys in the north, but it is not tapped. The respective state government have not looked into it. So if he has that kind of a plan and can implement it, it will be wonderful. I think he also talked about making Nigerian people, they talk about sports and entertainment. He acknowledged the fact that there is a development in sports and entertainment. Nigeria is known globally because these guys are good ambassadors for the country. And he said it's going to boost that. It will be interesting to see it. And that is not to criticize them, but I think that to a large extent, and this is in fact where you see that marked difference, where the political ideology of the party is not one that is strictly a private sector, based, but Tinubu as a person is a private sector person. So Buhari ran the government as someone whose ideology substantially is influenced by socialist views. That's why he introduced the social investment program, and he was particularly every time concerned about the poor masses, and everything. He would say, I don't want the poor masses to suffer. And so we have not been able to boost young people into entrepreneurship. Tinubu believes in that. So it will be interesting to see when he has a son who is also very vibrant and agile in that regard. We'll look to all of this and to see how they're able to do it. My only request for them, while they spend the remainder of the few months before the court will kick them out, is to look at this area of policy. You see, I think that I can understand the situation he's in. When you come to a government where Nigeria is divided, depending on when we amend our laws, where all decisions of course will have to be reached before somebody is sworn in, so that you're moving a nation. When you have a generation of people in the nation saying we don't even believe in your legitimacy and the rest, it's difficult. Sometimes you have to go out of your way to do extraordinary things to impress. And that's why the first few decisions he made, you could see Nigerians saying, oh, if that's what he's doing, everybody will rally around. So if he is pressured to make certain decisions that will cut across the journey, of all the people. But these are political decisions that are not backed up by economic, realities. Yes. So if he has to be able to balance it, because if he doesn't do that, it will be like the case of Buhari in 2015. He gave so much of promise. People thought Buhari was a messiah.
And when the honeymoon was over?
When the honeymoon was over, they started crucifying him.
The fan. Yeah.
Yeah. So they have to look at that. Yeah. Well thought out plan. And I can't wait, to be honest. I can't wait to see him constitute a proper government. A government under Section 5, where you have the president and ministers of the government of the federation and leaders of ministry, department, and agencies.
Do you think that will inspire some confidence in the nation?
Yes, because you see,
the quality of the person.
Yes,
but again, there's a political expediency. You have to also balance it. Those who gave you votes, those who work for you, you have to consult governors to say which would you like to. That's a tradition.
I think the
who would you like.
But what makes you? But I'm tired of all these things that people say, as if politicians are not technocrats. Who said? Is Daniel Bwala, for example, not a politician? But even though he likes to claim that he's not.
Let me.
You are not a politician.
No, let me say this to you. Let me say it to you. Hold on, Ismail.
What is Dr. Wale Edu, for example? Wale Edu, technocrat to the core.
So let me say
an important role in this.
So let me say this to you, Ismail. The kind of perception that Nigerians have, the expectations some Nigerians have, is that they want to see out of the ordinary, the Okonjo-Iweala kind of personalities, the Adesina of the AFDB kind of personalities. Yes, those people who have done some kind of governance, but then they believe that they are not those who have spent all their lives in politics. Who don't have a second address. Yeah. Those who they know that they are experts in this area, not just because you bring a medical doctor to go and become a minister of something that doesn't relate to his field of endeavor. So, for example, hold on, Ismail. For a minister that was quoted to say, look, I did not even know anything about the ministry
when I was made minister.
So those are the kind of
that was a complete that was.
So those are the expectations, Ismail.
It's a dying declaration.
It was not fair.
So I mean, you see where if Nigerians are expecting so much, you see why. I mean, if you hear Wale Edun, for example, I mean, he's a sound economist. I mean, Zach Adedeji is a first-class accountant. Respected.
You see, so what you're saying now, there is a part of Nigeria that immediately their reaction to what we say now will be like, this is feeding up to the suspicion, and it's coming from the northwest. I'm telling you raw truth. Yeah. Because you just cited two technocrats based on to you. They happen to come from a geopolitical zone.
No.
I'm coming. Let me finish.
Hold on.
I have a reason why I'm saying that. Now, these are technocrats. He believes in, he knows them, and has their background. Whenever Tinubu makes a decision as far as the Southwest is concerned, you will score him 90%. He will get it right. But because he's incorporating other parts of Nigeria, there are some other parts of the country that when he goes to choose, he may not apply the same principle of the Southwest. Because he, like you said earlier, he will pander to certain interests.
But let me tell you something. Right. I've heard someone say somewhere, I was actually having tea somewhere, and someone said, what has Abuja become? In fact, I mean, no, this is the person, I'm quoting the person. And the person said, I may not like El-Rufai, but I think Tinubu should bring back El-Rufai to the
To the
FCT.
FCT.
Now, you may not like him as a person,
Mm-hmm.
but some people believe that he's done a good job when he was FCT minister.
And by the way, where is El-Rufai?
So those are
Since
the
after the election, I've not heard from him.
No, but he's around.
Where is
now.
Badero and Bagudu?
They are all part of a very, very key team. of the
yeah.
president.
So you see the kind of expectation. But just a moment, I want us to close this podcast in 10 minutes. And this is one important aspect of this podcast. I like to bring in a few people. If the interaction on can be reduced to about 30 seconds on the intervention so that we can take as many people as possible.
Right.
The first person I'm seeing is Comrade Abiyos Ronnie at @ABA_Abiyos. You have the mic and your mic is on. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Seun. Good evening, Bola. Good evening, Ahmed Ismail, and others participants. What I will say is that in this placement of Tinubu, Nigerian has seen different, what they will never expect. Many things, policies Tinubu has taken that Nigerians are currently suffering. What I will talk about is that subsidy removal. What I do not believe is that the government removed the subsidy, that the poor are not benefiting from the subsidy. So it is reality now. The poor understand that the media brainwash them. All those economics columns and many things, write-ups, and the government that no, poor are enjoying the subsidy because with subsidy you are buying fuel at 200 or 180 or 190, but now it is already to the 650, 550 or something above that, and it is expecting to hike to 700. Even that if man denounce that. So what I would say is that if Nigeria want to remove subsidy, because in a country like Nigeria, it's not good to say that they will remove subsidy. Consider the unemployment. Consider all these things. Consider even this education matter. See what is happening in this country. The schools, universities, tuition are hike. Many things like that. So what I will say is that if the government wants to generate more money, it's not about removing the subsidy in a country like Nigeria with high unemployment rate, this poverty rate, many problems like that. So we have to be more productive. We don't have to rely on petrol because this petrol, it touches everything in this country. When you touch petrol, so people will know that the market everywhere will shake. So I think that the best for Nigerian government, if they want to generate more money to invest in education, in health, and many parties that. So we have to be productive. We have to produce more. We don't have to rely on this petrol only. So that is what where Nigerian government will get more money. That's what I can say soon. Thank you for the mic.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I like anyone who is intervening to look at how this is impacting on you. I want a sort of response from those who are coming in to intervene. What are the pulse? We want to feel the pulse of Nigerians in this last 1 month. How would you assess the policies so far? If it were Atiku or Peter Obi or Showore, do you think they would have done differently or better within the last 1 month? Those are the conversations or the intervention that I'm looking forward to. Let me bring another person. If you can make it punchy in 30 seconds so we can have as many people as possible. At Kelly Trader 6 on Twitter, you have the floor and your mic is on. Go ahead, please.
Yes, hi, Sean. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you, Kelly.
I think that for me personally, this whole subsidy and parallel currency that has now, become a uniformed one, I think is the best step. We have to be patient with some of the new policies. But the truth is we can't continue to do things that we've done over the years and expect a different outcome. So while I do realize that there are going to be some pain points with everything going on, especially on day-to-day users and those who at the end of the stick. I think that these policies are right. And when the ministers come, then they will drive the other economic agenda to lift the country. Thank you. I yield the mic.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Lovely. Timing, you're time conscious and you hit the nail on the head. So I want to hear from, so that my speakers in the studio here can also have a feel of what is going on wherever, whichever part of the country you're speaking from. Let's get another person at Deepo Speak. Hashtag thank a soldier on Twitter. You have the mic. Your mic is on.
Yeah, thank you, Sean, for having me, Mr. Daniel, and it's good to have you on board. I'd like to say here that it's important for us to understand that we have a president that matches his words to his actions. You know, in the campaign, he's talked about taking a head-on the macroeconomic indicators that has to do with multiple exchange rate, and it has to go. He did that exactly. He talked about the subsidy. He did that exactly. He took fuel subsidy out, and it's quite important for us to understand that he also knows that it's going to be a bit painful for Nigerians on the interim, but on the long term, it's actually what the country needs. Looking at our current state as a country, we don't have enough luxury and resources to actually take care of some of the subsidies and all that. So I think he's a president that has come to actually make a huge stamp. And you could see that from all the accolades all over the world, from IMF, the World Bank, and other economists that are on the globe saying that these are steps that the country actually needs to do to actually put us on a trajectory of global steady growth and development. We cannot afford to go on that route. But I would like also to stay here categorically that the government actually need to also feel the pain of people and cut government spending. If they can do that, they'll earn more trust from the people, and people will see that it's not just them bearing the brunt. You know, everyone has to play his part. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Is the spirit. That is the vibe. Let's get on with it so we can get as many people, not only from Kano or from Brunei. We can get as many people from other parts of the country. Honorable Real One at Real1_Ola01 on Twitter. You have the floor and your mic is on.
Thank you for having me, Sean. I have a quick question, and the question is going for you first, please. November 2022, when the former president announced the time frame at which the subsidy payments will last for, I believed, or maybe you can just rephrase the actual month he said is going to last it for, so I can just go on to my question.
I mean, if I get the fact right, he said it was going to, well, it's actually a force of law because there is a window in which was given for the PIA to take effect before, and there is a period where the budget was made up until the end of June before they stop budgeting for it. So I have a feeling that window is to the end of June.
Okay, my question now is for Mr. Ismail. Immediately after the swearing of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he made this pronouncement that the subsidy is gone, and the effect, the pains, the effect on Nigerians started on the May 30th. So between May 30 to now, I believe there was a provision for the subsidy, which for some reasons was actually taken out. Where exactly was the money? Or the last president, former president, there was no provision for it, as he said, as he told Nigerians around November last year, so that we can have the clarification of, people that are feeling the pains can really have the understanding of what is going on, so that it won't be as if the money is in the pocket of some people, maybe the past government or this current government, if we've been suffering for the past 30 days. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll allow Ismail, please let me note that question he asked so that we can take response. So I'm still taking some responses. I have Mazi Nzako at Ike Pichano on Twitter. You have the floor now, and I'm here the mic to you.
Thank you, Sean, for having me, and thank you for the good work you're doing. And thank your guest over there, too. So I don't understand when people say, oh, these policies are very good. You just have to be patient. I don't understand it. 133 million people are in abject poverty. And somebody is making a policy that will throw people into poverty. And people are saying it is a good policy. It is a good policy. Is it when everybody is poor that this policy will begin to work? Is it not better that you begin to, put things in place before you make those policies? As a president that is elected, I think that he has the mandate of the people. When he comes in, first thing he will do is not trying to show that what other people did or what other people cannot do, that he can do. I think when he comes in, what he will do is try to be his own self. Don't sign things because others could not sign it. I can do it. No, you have to look at the people. The people matters. Now people cannot afford to put food on their table. Subsidy is gone. And nothing to caution it, nothing. People are scanting, people are trekking. And people will still sit in their glass houses with a lot of cash in their pocket, in their banks, and discuss it and laugh like it's normal. It's not normal. It's not normal. People are suffering, people are dying. People can go to the hospital and pay their bills. People can afford to buy drugs. And we talk about it because we can go to America and go to England and we study all kind of stuff. That is not humanity for you. Humanity is thinking of the people. We have to come back from where we have gone too far. We have to come back. There is too much work to be done than to start shaking hands and speaking big grammars and all that. It's too much work to be done.
All right.
This policy is not good at this point. The president should have waited, put his hands down, put his foot down, and decide on how he wants to remove this subsidy, not because others couldn't do it. That's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mazi Nzako. I see one more person raising his hand. I probably think that will be all for today. And that's Victor Abisoye at Olushe Guinea on Twitter. You have the mic now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shehu. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, Mr. Ishmael and Mr. Bwala. Please, I would just like to ask Mr. Bwala one question, because he and a few people here are dwelling on subsidy removal. And as a lawyer, I want to ask him if he knew the time that PIA was passed, if he knew the period that PIA activation period was, and if he knew the effective date that subsidy was actually gone, like the president said. Because you see, this is a public forum, and especially very knowledgeable people like Mr. Bwala, being a lawyer who knows the law and who knows the text of the law, should know that this law was passed with a 6-month activation clause, and that activation clause was since February of 2022 to expire at August of 2022. So effectively by law, subsidy was gone by August 2022, and the carrying it along till June was actually an illegal action. Does he agree or does he disagree? Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. So we'll come to wrap up now. So 2 more people, then we will go. I'm seeing at Rotex Talk on Twitter.
All right, Sean, thank you very much for giving this opportunity. I just really want to point out some certain things. First, to Ishmael. Ishmael, I know Ishmael for a while. He's been a political. I don't want to put it for lack of better words. I don't want to use words that would really hurt. But Ishmael said this about 8 years ago when Buhari was elected as president, that we should be patient and allow the government to actually, work and settle down and all of that. 8 years after, the economy is battered, is worse than what it was. Now you're coming back with the same rhetoric about Tinubu, that Tinubu, we should be a little bit more patient. See, Nigerians don't have that much patience. We've been patient since 1999 when Olusegun Obasanjo came into power. And it's still the same thing. We want to reform. We need time. We need time. No, we know that it's not going to be a silver bullet, in the first instance. But we have to put up policies that are people oriented. We cannot, coming on Twitter or on radio or television and trying to win Nigeria over with so much grammar and with so much things, it's not going to work. There's an adage in Nigeria that says that you cannot beat a child and expect that child not to cry. Nigerians are crying. Ishmael and what was his name, Wala, you guys don't belong to that downtrodden, the people on the bottom of the pyramid. We have people who cannot afford their next meal. They can't even pay school fees. The housing market is on high. Nobody can afford it. We're not talking about the 5 million Nigerians who can do that. We're talking about over 150 million Nigerians who cannot do that. We're talking about people who definitely will call on their relatives abroad, for food and for peanuts and and all of that. That's exactly what we're talking about. We're not talking about the few people within the government who have been recycled in government for so many years to come, and you're talking, balderdash about the policies and all of that. What we want is real results. We don't want English. English is too much, and we need Nigerians to actually, live a better life. At least let Nigerians breathe, according to what the president said.
Thank you so much. I guess the final response or intervention is going to be from Dab at Dab for Youth. Doc, how are you? A quick intervention. Do you think Atiku or Peter Obi would have done better?
Maybe Peter Obi, but I think that I'll go for sure on this because both of them clearly said that they were going to remove it. Maybe Peter Obi might have been a little bit more thoughtful. Sure clearly said it was not going to. So I would say option sure on that. But you see, we chose a government that said they were going to hit the ground running. But yes, they are probably running, but the direction, we actually don't know the direction of this race. And they are actually in big trouble because what they are selling to us is patience. And unfortunately, I don't know if patients can pay for transportation or pay for house rent. We have had that some people are going to be laid off. I have had friends who have called me up that the cost of production of something from the firm is increased, and their employer is already telling them that if they find opportunity in any other company, they should probably be looking. So these are consequences of some of these unification of Naira or subsidy removal just in 30 days. And I can tell them boldly that they have failed in one aspect of their campaign, and that is that we are not enjoying the continuity, party continuity. I mean, that was a cheese. That was something they could have used. That, oh yeah, APC to APC, there's going to be continuity. It seems that that's already in the mud. As at today, maybe later I can say, oh, this happened because of the continuity in party. So that's it. But what are even my worries? Because I have more worries. I feel that, you see, these 30 days, well, I scored on a program I was yesterday, said we should rate him. I said, I gave him 3.
And they said, why? I said, number one, I don't even know what the president has done in the last 30 days because the removal was not even, he just announced it. It was not the one, like somebody rightly asked, it was August 2021 that this presidential petroleum initiation bill was passed, which should have taken effect. He just came and announced it. And unfortunately, they are not even telling us the truth, that there's no way. They're still owing NPC. So there's nothing to benefit from this subsidy. And I put it to the person in the house to refute that. Nigeria is broke. So it's not as if we're saving money from somewhere. We got so broke before we removed the full subsidy. It was not even in this year's budget at all. So they hope that something is coming. I don't know where it is coming. And I said that they're going to borrow. I don't know. So there's a lack of preparedness too. And that's another fear. Had 800 million from World Bank for more than 6 months or thereabouts, nothing has happened. And look at the previous policies too. That looks very good on paper. The border closure, the narrow redesign. Where are we today? Nothing. The other part is this: we do not have the infrastructures to support some of these policies that they are laying down. We don't have employment protection to say that companies do not lay off your workers because there are issues. We do not have the protection. We don't have the healthcare policies that will say, okay, we can have a safety net for people.
All right.
So there's so many things. So let me land with this. Yeah. I hope that they will learn from this, because this is what I want us to take out from this. I hope that at least what we learn from this thing is that the transportation system of the country be fixed. If at the end of 4 years, Bola Ahmed Tinubu says that, okay, because we removed fuel subsidy, we did not just increase salary, because now that is the only thing I'm hearing. We make sure that the transportation network of the country is all fixed, so that whatever happens, we can always have that pushing effect that we hold the transportation system. We can say, okay, you can go to work and come back without increasing price. And I think that is what I'm looking for. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Gentlemen, we just need to wrap up. I love the fact that Nigerians are able to share their views from their own point of view, direct questions to yourself and Mr. Boala on the state, how they see things and how they perceive things. And I'd like you, gentlemen, to give your final thought on this. This is a very crucial point in this nation's life. And I do think in the UK, in the US, those who pay rent, you are not required to pay your rent per year. You could do it every month. You buy a vehicle, you can do it on mortgage. You buy a house, you could do it on mortgage. And a lot of life is just easier. Not as though the UK, they tax you a lot, but you can do things. They provide the services. The services are there. The average citizen just need just little things that will make their life just not miserable and just moving them forward. That's why the burden on Bola Tinubu is going to be enormous. And you know what, Ismail, Nigerians will ask, they will put him to task. But Nigerians are also very reasonable. As they're asking and tasking him, they are also reasonable that there is a process. So let me allow you to give your final thought on the conversation. The last 1 month is not being rosy, but Nigerians are watching, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I appreciate most of the people that called. All of them, actually. I appreciate them. And I'm glad, like I said in the beginning, Nigerians are not as naive as people think they are. There are people that know more about this than even we do that speak on this public forum. Somebody asked a question about, where the activation clause of the PIA and when it was supposed to come to effect, when this subsidy was supposed to end. It was a matter of law. It was not an executive fiat or something like that. I understand. And here I will take a chance and speak out on a limb and tell you that the president understands 100% how Nigerians feel and the impact that this subsidy removal, the exchange rate, and all of these major policy decisions is having on ordinary Nigerians. He understands it fully. And he intends, not only he intends, he's working around the clock to make sure that the cushioning effect comes in. I'm also glad that some of the speakers mentioned clearly that some of them that called, clearly they didn't call from Nigeria because they accuse us of speaking English, and yes, they are speaking English as well. I would have loved to speak Hausa here, but unfortunately, English is the only language that they would understand. And then somebody said Balderdash. I don't even know what that means, but so he's speaking English and accusing us of speaking English. But jokes apart, the point here is most of these people that live outside this country, they know what they go through to be able to pay for their electricity. They know what they go through to buy fuel. They know how much it costs a gallon if you live in the US or in the UK. They know what all this are. Unfortunately, we have come where we do not have a very functioning a transport system in Nigeria. We have funding problem. We simply do not have enough funds to fund some of our basic priorities that the developed world take for granted. But most of these things are paid for. We have a working force that is less than ideal in terms of percentile to be able to pay for this. But bottom line, as a final thought, the president understands how Nigerians feel, and he's working around the clock. And I know for some people that is not soothing enough, not even if it comes from the president directly, because they really want to see change immediately. And I'm sure this change will come sooner than later. Unfortunately, I'm not in a position to give a timeline or exactly how it will come. I know there's multiple discussions with various stakeholders on how to do that. Somebody mentioned that the only thing he's hearing is a minimum wage. Yes, that will go up. It's a very important part of the moving parts. But by and large, the president is a listening president. He's an understanding president. Somebody said I mentioned this during Buhari's first 8 years. Yes, we all came. We all thought that it was going to be that these decisions are going to take. Yes, unfortunately, we've had some bad runs. We've had some good ones as well. But this time around, I think if there's anything we've learned at some of the landmines that we've been able to step on in the last 8 years, and this president has learned it and is going to make amends. But most important, decisions have to be taken because somebody has to take these decisions. Nigerians have always said, let's wait for a certain period. It's never too early to take the right decision. The most important thing is what comes afterwards, the management of the consequences of such a decision. And that is what is on the table. And we totally understand how Nigerians feel. I feel it as well. So I don't think people should be saying things as if we are immune from it.
Because you're all man.
Big man in size, not in status. They're two different things. But yes, Nigerians, the president understands that, and he's working around the clock to get it done.
Right. My response to the fellow who talked about the timeline for the PIB. Yes, indeed, that the timeline elapsed at the time, but the government was already in default at the time Tinubu came on board, and the amendment to the PIB Act, which gave the timeline, is not like the Constitution; it can always be amended. What President Tinubu ought to have done upon coming on board would have been to wait. The minute the National Assembly is constituted, he present to them an amendment to that PIB Act, where they will extend the period to 6 months, within which he would probably look at these areas we're talking about, how to cushion the effect. So that if by December it takes effect, Tinubu can say he has had the first 6 months to lay the foundation for the implementation of the PIB Act by removing the fuel subsidy, and then it will be better. So it was a wrong decision. It was a good policy, but wrong decision made at the wrong time, and the solution would have been to amend the PIB Act and extend it by 6 months, which is doable. He controls both houses of the National Assembly. On a general note, I'm particularly impressed by the fact that I have heard Tinubu say twice or more that we don't need to complain. We asked for it, and the people voted us into power. And I hope by the time he appoints his media managers, they will carry that posture where they will take the bullet and say, we asked for it, criticize us, we'll figure it out, rather than being probably repulsive, defensive, and attacking. And that's why I said that it is when he has released the list of his appointees, you'll be able to tell whether he's coming out with an aggressive cabinet or people who will work towards the betterment of Nigeria. So that's it in a nutshell. Policy issue. Policy issue. I have seen the first two and they have not been favorable, and I'm hoping that they will take care of that.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Besides, those are the all policies that they have promised as well.
Yes. We intend to lay the foundation.
This is by far the longest podcast since we began this podcast. Interactive and engaging. That's why we're able to stay this long. Well, that's it, everyone. The emotions.
You have a prospective minister.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And thanks to both of you for making it an interactive and interesting one. That's it, everyone. The emotions accompanying real suffering are hard to hide. So when we talk about it, we're not being cynical. The realities are there for everyone to see. Now, a voice of caution came from this room. Brace up for the impact, as the effect of subsidy removal may linger for months. But there is a contrary opinion also from this studio that succor is coming, and the government is working hard to alleviate the suffering of the people. The president has spent 1 month in office. He has many more months to go, but time is of the essence. If the policies are with time, that is fine. If it will be better if they are well thought out. Well, a lot of people have responded to the timing and the impact. Purposeful and deliberate policies with long, medium, and short-term impact on the people with commensurate measures to shut up where necessary will make this administration score high amongst majority of Nigerians. The success of this government is hinged on making the right calls at the right time across many levels. The prosperity of the nation rests heavily on these variables, and President Tinubu and his team must be aware and act in consonance to this reality. And that's how we draw the curtain.